We're here doing serious and fun things like farming naturally. Some of my favorite stuff to do. Farm naturally. What a great concept. We're gonna get in today as day 2 of a 3-day KNF intensive. Welcome the new students that weren't here on the first day to recap the first day. Let's see our recap here. Day number 1, we made FPJ together as a class, a grow formula, a crossover formula, and a flowering formula. And those are set up today. We're going to check on those. Those are over here. We may end up straining them if it looks proper, or we may leave them to ferment longer. We're going to check that as a class. Last week we also did the FAA, which is the fish amino acid sugar ferment. We set up several buckets, some of them more successful than others, and it's great that we get to see this process go down, and we'll talk about that in class today too. And we'll show you some visuals and different cues on checking your FAA. Make sure we got the right ratios and right vibrations going in our fermented fish amino acid. And then last week we also did OHN, the Oriental Herbal Nutrient, phase 1. To backtrack real quick, just for new students that have never heard of what we're even talking about, basically what we're doing here is Korean natural farming. And it's a method that was brought up by Master Cho from Korea. He had 3 elders that he got most of his teachings from. Aloha. And he developed this method. He's you know, someone call him a prophet or a great human being. Some would say he's a very smart individual. But whatever he is, he brought forward this Korean natural farming method to us. It contains 9 core solutions, or inputs, we'll be calling them throughout the day. A solution or an input. There's 9 core inputs or solutions. There's also several other ones that are secondary to the 9 core that we won't be talking about in this intensive class. But to recap the method, it's 100% natural. You make your own homemade nutrients. Very little is purchased from the store. Most of it's produced on your own farm. The whole goal of it is to team up with Mother Nature, to be self-dependent, self-reliant, and be a sovereign farmer. To team up with nature instead of major corporations and major ag companies who have different goals in mind than the average farmer has in mind. So Korean natural farming is an answer to beyond organic farming, beyond what anyone's been teaching out there, and that we're getting into the realms of regenerative ag, permaculture, biodynamic farming, Masanobu Fukuoka, natural farming, and that's what we're doing here today. So just to recap, this is a Korean natural farming intensive. We're going over the 9 core solutions or inputs of Korean natural farming, and I'm just recapping day 1 of some of the 9 that we already have done, that we're gonna be doing step number 2 and 3 and so on too. So back on track, we did our Oriental Herbal Nutrients. We have rehydrated the herbs in beer, and then we're going to ferment them in sugar today, step 2. So we'll get to that and dive into that too. Also, we did an IMO 1 catch, and we also walked out into the bush to check on our indigenous microorganism number 1, and we had a successful catch last week. We turned it into IMO 2, which now would be fermented and able to turn into IMO 3. We started the IMO 3 pile last week, or excuse me, on Saturday.
What's and IMO?
Indigenous microorganism. So the IMO is the indigenous microorganism. I'll go over a resource guide too, to make sure all the students have all resources necessary to further the practice. IMO 3 is now set. It's about at its perfect stage that it should be, and we're gonna also go check on that today and show you the process of IMO 3. It's about halfway through the process now, so you guys can witness that. We're also gonna talk about seawater today. We're gonna set up fruit vinegar today, which in Hawaii and in some regions of natural farming can replace the brown rice vinegar. And we'll talk more in detail about that when we get to it. Yeah, so that kind of settles that. Recap. Any questions so far? Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of talking first, just to kind of, since we're all relaxed here in the first part of the day, I'm gonna do a little bit of lecturing with this white paper over here. And we're gonna just talk about two different things. Number one, seawater. And number two, lactic acid bacteria. And so a lot of stuff too, if you're a return student, you might be hearing some of this redundancy because you're a return student. Okay, so we got a good shot here. Everybody see this? Pretty good at least? I'll move around a little bit too. Or you could move. Seawater. Actually, I gotta stand on this side because I'm right-handed. C. That's how you spell it, right? Yep. It's a weird word when you write it down. It's just 3 letters, S-E-A. C. Do you see? Do you see the C? Or do you see? I don't know. What can you see? Okay, so seawater. So when you take a class with Master Cho, he spends a lot of time talking about seawater. He finds it very important. He talks about the scriptures, about the Bible, and about the origins of our planet, you know? The origins of this ground that we live on, this soil, this earth. And what he refers to is the book of Genesis. And he says, in the beginning there was the waters, you know, and the Spirit flew over the waters. And I believe on the 3rd day, don't quote me on that, but the land drew forth from the ocean. You know, you can imagine an island emerging for dry land, for a continent, for a space for animals and humans to dwell, right? And where did it come up from? In the beginning was the waters. The earth came up out of the waters, right? So where, like we're here on a mountain, we could be 10,000 feet, but that earth came out of the ocean, right? So he says the sea is to remind us of our mother, the womb from whence we came, right? The earth I'm talking about. To remind the earth of its mother, the ocean, the womb that it was born from, the watery, dark, deep, right? So you see the symbology in Korean natural farming. It's not like a joke thing. It's not just like, oh, this is like a farming technique and it has the best science and look at all our white papers. Like, no, we're talking about real human vibrations, earth vibrations, like things, who feels it, knows it, the rest, you know, can just read about it, you know? But this is it, like this is deep right here. Straight from the scriptures too, but then brought to like a deeper understanding that what is that dark, watery place, you know, from where all life came, you know, that's the womb, you know, so the ocean or the seawater where the earth came from. Do you guys understand that concept?
Totally.
Yep.
Okay, so and it links back to the scripture too, so it's there's some verification on different levels, you know. Let's talk a little bit more about seawater. Let me see if I got my chart. Did you guys see where that packet, the KNF packet? I know it's floating around here somewhere, but anyway, not that big of a deal. Ocean water. The ocean's right there, we can see it. You can just go down there and get a bucket for free. The word I got is that there's people sending Hawaii's ocean water to the mainland for premium dollars right now. So, you know, use your mind first, and then use your resources also, you know. This right here, what you're looking at is a product. I rarely endorse products, but all this is dried seawater. It's just dried seawater. It's salt, unadulterated sea salt. And it's dried not in the kiln, but by the sun at natural temperatures. So why I'm endorsing this product is that sometimes people in the mainland, or maybe even an auntie or an older person, can't go lift 5-gallon buckets of seawater out of the ocean, nor do they have the drive or motivation. So you have this as an option. It's called C90. And look what it says, just so you can read what a company verified by, what are they verified by? OMRI listed, Registered Organic Input Material, CDFA. So these guys got different certifications to verify their claims, right? And what their claims are is 100% natural water-soluble nutrients to energize soil and improve microbial activity. Okay, so this isn't from a Korean natural farming book. This is a product that's sold nationwide. Trace mineral fertilizer. Just to be able to put that on your label, you have to convince the USDA that it actually increases fertility in your soil. You have to show with scientific evidence.
What about Hawaiian Sea Salt?
It's a great choice. Yep. Yep. Any just straight sea salt. Like you could go find salt that's already evaporated if you want an easier way to collect it. You go down to those, you know, those down at Pu'onua, Hononau. You can walk out there and collect salt off of the rocks. You know.
Could you combine it with regular water? And
yeah.
use it as a...
Yeah, great question. So if you're using dry salt, 4 grams per gallon gets you to the ratio of 1 to 30. So if you're using straight salt water, you need to dilute it 1 gallon to 30 gallons, 1 quart to 30 quarts, 1 cup to 30 cups. It's 1 to 30 ratio. Ratios are just you take the measurement and then you apply it to the numbers. 1 teaspoon to 30 teaspoons of water. For seawater, right? 1 to 30. And then in the ripening formula, which we could get into in a different class, there's a ripening formula where you increase the sea salt.
How often?
For the ripening formula? Or just, oh, for in general? In general, the sea salt's kind of, it's a trace mineral inoculant, and it's usually used in KNF for soil foundation setup. So when you're setting up a garden, or towards the end when something's ripening, or you're getting close to harvest. And those are the times mostly that it's used in the KNF regimen. It can be used at any time as a micronutrient booster. Yeah, on everything. On orchards, herbs, annuals, perennials, the whole 9 yards. You just want to get your ratios right. You don't want to over salt something and let it die on you or anything like that. A lot of like Roundup in general, it's a combination of different salts with some weird chemicals as well. But there's the thing that dries your plant out and makes it turn brown is the salt extracting all the lifeblood out of the plant, and it turns brown. So you don't want, you know, if you want to kill something, you just do like you know, 1 to 2 or 1 to 5 or something, you know what I mean? But we're not trying to kill, we're trying to inoculate the soil, so we need to dilute it. What's cool about that dilution, 1 to 30? What do tears taste like? Salt. Right. You might not know, but your saliva is also salty, but we taste it all day. You know, pee is salty. Your bodily fluids are all salty. Because you're made of salt. Because salt carries electricity and you're an electrical being, right? Ionic minerals, energy exchanging, you know? So our food we eat, the plant blood, guess what? It's salty. It has salinity to it at the 1 to 30 ratio. The similar salinity to if you mixed the salt, the seawater with the water at 1 to 30, tasted it. Similar to if you took some honu grass, split it open and tasted it. You're gonna have a similar salt content in plant blood. So we're kind of mimicking and supporting those systems. when we add seawater, okay? More about seawater. Seawater contains every trace element known to man. Gold, silver, boron, aluminum. It's all in there. Cobalt. All of it's in there. Let's see what this, we'll keep reading what this says. Balanced minerals and trace elements provide solutions for farms and gardens. Right? This says, oh, it also has some phosphate in it, and has 1% potassium in it too. And it's derived from solar dehydrated ocean water. For production of all garden crops, wheatgrass, aquaponics, and compost teas. Garden soil, broadcast onto your soil. Foliar spray, mix 1 teaspoon per gallon. That's really similar to the exact ratio I just described. It's actually a tiny bit more. Drench your soil. Hydroponics, use it in your water. Aquaponics, use it in your water. Compost tea, 8 ounces per 50 gallons. So wait, C90, so on a different one anyway, it tells you that there's over 90 trace minerals, and that's why it's called C90. There's over 90 trace minerals that are known to man. It's pretty much all of them. So you're kind of getting the gist of why seawater is good for your agricultural system. Yeah.
It makes me think of the seaweed, when you walk the beach and collect seaweed and all the minerals in the seaweed.
100%. So what's one of the #1 sold natural or organic products to the organic market? Seaweed. Seaweed liquid, dried seaweed powder, kelp, the whole 9 yards. Maxi crop, multi-million-dollar business off of seaweed. We can collect our own limu, we can dry it out, we can powder it, we can make FPJ, we can rinse it, use the rinse water, we can ferment it in a bucket, use the water from that, like a dragonfly earth medicine tea. So we need to just tap back into nature, just like these companies tapped into nature and sold it to you. We just bypass the middleman and go straight to the source, and then take our power back, you know what I mean? Like take that sovereignty and that finances back. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Super critical. I'm just going to share one more story about seawater before we move away from that input. Master Cho was brought to the Parker Ranch. A farmer wanted him to come up there to look at his sick cows, right? His cows were sick. So he said, you know, come look at my cows, right? Because KNF is also a closed loop system based on livestock and chicken and pigs, okay? I don't teach that per se because I'm not an animal farmer, but it's based on a closed loop system. And we'll get into that more when we talk about the water-soluble calcium and the water-soluble calcium phosphate. So anyway, he's up on this farm and they're calling him to check out their cows, right? Because the cows are sick. So he walks out there and the rancher comes in, oh yeah, da-da-da-da-da, they meet each other. And he's, you know, come look at my cows. And Master Cho, I don't want to see your cows, you know? No, yeah, you're here to look at the cows. And he said, no, show me the field, is what he said. He said, where do these cows eat? I don't want to look at the cows. I want to see what they eat. Showed him the field. Master Cho goes out there, and this is all told to me secondhand, so I'm just telling my best to give you the story. I'm not putting it all perfect, you know, just so give me a little room for the story. So anyway, Master Cho walks out there from what I understand, and he goes into the field. He bends down, he picks up some soil, and he puts it in his mouth. Chews on it for a minute, spits it out, and he said, seawater. The farmer said, what? You need to put seawater on the pasture. And the farmer goes, no, I need you to help me with my cows. They're sick. And Master Cho said, yes, they're eating acidic grass. The wrong type of grass is growing here for these cows to thrive, you know? You need seawater to flip the alkalinity of the acidic soil so more alkaline plants and favorable grasses grow in this pasture. Therefore, your cows will eat alkaline grasses, higher nutrient dense grasses, as opposed to this acidic grass. Problem solved. So You can see seawater has many uses. You know, it can alkalize soil, sweeten fruit. You know, there's this thing called, this is a graph right here. It's like, let's see. Stress. So it's like, so basically if this was an arc of stress, so this is the plant's life. If you got to here, your plant would be so stressed out it would die. Okay, so this is the peak of stress your plant can handle until it dies. But if you ride your plant right around this area of this little bit of stress, not the sweet life where you're sitting in the mansion, servants are feeding you, and you're just sitting around, you know? That's this life. You have no stress, right? Well, scientists and farmers have come to find out a little bit of stress in the plant's life will actually lead to optimal health. Up here it's dead, down here it's lazy, but right in here it's optimal health. So a little bit of seawater is just enough little bit of stress on the system to
during the life.
What's that? What's that? What'd you say?
3 times the life of the plant, you add salt water. Excuse me.
The point here is that a little bit of stress can go a long way. You know?
She's asking, when do you put the salt water, I think.
Oh, when do you apply the salt water? So at soil,
Plant.
yeah, soil foundation, and when you're finishing. If it's an orchard,
So twice in the life of a plant.
if it's an annual.
Okay.
And then you can also use it as a mineral booster if you feel that you're lacking mineral in your system. But as far as Master Cho's feed chart, yeah, you're only using it in the beginning and towards the end. Yeah.
This can be foliar or soil drench.
Yep.
Can you explain that to her relative to a flower and a tree? How you would apply the seawater additive relative to flower and a tree
For a vegetable.
or a vegetable?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, well, no, it's gonna break loose.
So what she's asking is, when would this seawater be applied, right? That's the basic gist of the question. So now we're kind of diverging into nutrient cycling, which isn't really part of this class, but it can be. I don't know why I use Roman numerals. That's what Master Cho used on his chart. But 1, 2, 3, and 4 steps to every plant, right? There's the soil foundation. There's the, or actually there's also soil foundation over here. There's soil foundation. There's phase 1 when the plant is in growth. There's phase 2 when it's crossing over. There's phase 3 when it's fruiting. And there's phase 4 when you're getting ready for harvest. Right? Any plant. Right? I mean, something might not fruit like lemongrass or something, but pretty much you're following this matrix here. So when we're talking about seawater, we're using it here and here. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
If you need mineral boost, add it anytime you want. Is that it? Anything else? If you feel that your orchard is spent, you know, you're re-establishing this orchard, it's spent, it's old, it needs new vigor, and you could prune it and spray it down with seawater. Also FPJ, also LAB, you know, because you're,
Thing?
Yeah, the whole orchard and the soil.
The leaves, everything,
Oh yeah, it'll love it. Yep,
even in dry season?
for sure. Especially. Yeah.
Better that way?
Well, I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, you're gonna want to do it in the early evening or the super early morning, because you're not just gonna want to be spraying off these microbials and all these.
Okay, if it gets on the leaves, you're saying.
You want it all over the leaves. That's called a foliar spray and a soil drench. You can do both.
Yeah, with that rate ratio, it's brutal.
Okay, so are we on the right track now? Seawater? We're good with seawater? Okay, sweet. The next one that I wanted to jump into while we're sitting here, because we're actually not going to get a chance to make it in class, is LAB, lab. So we're going to talk about LAB, which stands for
Lactic acid bacteria.
right, and different from lactic acid, right? So we got to know these things. Lactic acid bacteria, it's not lactic acid, it's lactic acid bacteria, right? Okay, so LAB, these guys are known as the microbial super soldiers. They're everywhere on the planet Earth, and just stick with me if you guys have heard this before. They're all over the place, right? They're the majority microbe in the air right now, on our skin, in our toes, under our fingernails, in the cracks of these trees, on the surface of this, on the surface of this, in your hair, in your ears, in your mouth, etc. Okay? You can't escape these guys. Their main purpose is balance. They want to balance stuff out. If things are rotting, they want to come to the rescue. If things need fermented, they want to come help you ferment it. You know? If things are out of balance, if there's supposed bad microbes taking over an environment, they want to come balance that out, you know? They want to come eat those guys and regurgitate them and teach them lessons and stuff, you know? So lactic acid bacteria, one of my teachers, Drake, calls them what? The KNF police. Because they're going to tell all the other microbes, go over here, go over, you're under arrest. You got to go to jail, you're not doing the right thing. Hopefully they're righteous police and not these,
These are righteous.
not corporate thugs, you know. Corporate thugs, I don't think that, they're the righteous police force is what they are. They're peacekeepers, what they're supposed to do, you know. So that's a comparison, the righteous police. What a weird term.
Well, and like he mentions as well, when you get too much of them, just
Right.
the concept
Right.
in that sense. It's
Right.
like corruption comes when the comfort comes. So
Right. So right.
lab, you don't want to use too much.
Yeah, exactly. So too many labs, now you got too much digestion taking place, you know. So we got to be careful with that, and that's why we stick with our ratios that are given to us, you know. So other things about lactic acid bacteria, when a baby comes through its mother's womb and it comes out into the world, its whole body gets coated with lactic acid bacteria. Why?
In the placenta.
As it comes out of the womb.
It establishes the immune system.
As it comes out, so when it touches the air,
Right.
it turns into that.
Is there a differentiation between dairy and lactic acid?
So dairy contains lactose. Lactose is a primary food source for lactic acid bacteria. Lactic acid is when you don't exercise and it gets stuck in your muscles and you're sore.
So it's two different things.
These are all different things.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But lactic acid bacteria loves to eat lactose out of milk. That's its primary food source. So when we talk about this recipe, we're going to talk about making it real quick here. And so you come out of your mom's womb, you're coated in lab, you don't get sick. No pathogens get to you, right? Right. You're you know, someone that's, let's see, what's another good example? Your mouth. You know, we try to sterilize our mouth all the time. But the lactic acid is still going to be there to help us, even though we're trying to scrub them out all the time. They're all over here right now as we speak. Right here on the seals of our holes that go into our mouth and to our body. Why? Because they're fighting off all the ones that might hurt us. All the pathogens that might hurt us. They got a bunch of swords and bombs and stuff right here. So none of the things can come in here. They're all up in here. No, you're not allowed. Oh no, who's that guy? He's not allowed. You know? All over the place. They're all defending us. So what are we gonna do? Are we gonna put hand sanitizer on everywhere we go? And wash our hands for 20 minutes? What would that do?
Put poisons on our skin. Those hand sanitizers.
Right, so now what happens when we pick up the food off the table that has a pathogen on it and we go like that? There's no defense. You know, everything that would have came off your finger onto that thing to help you with that pathogen. So you just wash your face and everything, hand sanitizer into your mouth. There's no defense against that thing now. All you got to depend on now is your enzymes in your mouth, the microbes in your gut, down your trachea. Hopefully they can do the trick now because you already cut off your primary source of defense. Through ignorance, willful ignorance, you cut off your own source of defense. What a thing. Who could imagine, you know? So that's why we teach our children, play in the dirt, climb on the tree, take your shoes off, get it under your fingernails. You get dirt on, you go work in the garden, you get dirt in your fingernails, you got you're walking laboratory.
Yes, sir.
You know? It's all over, all those IMOs, they're all up in your fingers all the time. You know, I gotta scrub them out every once in a while because they build up so much, you know? But those are the guys, you know? But yet, Babylon told us, oh, make their nails perfect and don't have cuticles with dirt and stuff, you know? That's all on purpose, you know? That's all to lead you down the path of destruction, you know what I mean? That's what that's for. How's it, brother? Yeah, lactic acid bacteria. What else about lab is there? Lab is like oh, here's a good one. So if you're farming chickens, pigs, anything like that, the lactic acid bacteria is gonna be the thing that kills the odor. So it'll destroy odor in a chicken coop or in a pig pen. Just through foliar spraying, but even better through the IMO4 production, which we're going to talk about later today. So the lactic acid bacteria keeps your odors at bay. So even like your dog's peeing and pooping in certain areas or under your house or something, and it just can't get rid of that urine smell, spray some lactic acid bacteria.
Where did you get it? Sorry.
We're going to go into that right after this. So also the lab, for people that don't mind the cheesy smell, you can use it as a countertop cleaner or a refrigerator cleaner as opposed to chemicals and antimicrobials. You can add a microbial cleaner to your environment as opposed to an antimicrobial cleaner, you know? So yeah, so now that we'll get into the recipe. Those are some of the magical aspects of lab. And now I will we'll show you the recipe real quick. It's a 4-step process. Number 1, okay, so number 1, the first step, anytime you make rice, right? Anytime you make rice, you wash the rice, and white rice anyway, you wash the rice, yeah? And what you're left with is cloudy water, right? Just like a simple rice wash water. This is gonna be the material used to catch the lactic acid bacteria. We got any empty bottles around, do you know? The glass jar, half gallon maybe?
The Masons.
Masons.
They're down at the...
I'm gonna grab those. I was just gonna show people the ratios in that jar. So rice wash water, you're gonna put that into your jar, any size vessel. Could be a half gallon jar. I'll just use this for an example right now. That's not the best example, but.
There might be one in one of those orange totes or yellow top totes.
Oh yeah, right there.
Sorry,
we're gonna use those anyway. We'll use those anyway.
yeah. It's a lot.
So this jar is used often in single farm KNF production. Like today we're using 5 gallon buckets, but this one is plenty for a single person. You're gonna put your rice wash water, right, that cloudy water, into a vessel to catch the microbes, the lactic acid out of the air. What ratio would you think we're gonna put in this jar of rice wash water? 2/3. 2/3 is the magic number for KNF. Always remember, 2/3 full. So how do I figure out 2/3? Well, halfway is right there, 3/4 is right there, so it's in between those two. This is all. It's all just keeping things simple and keeping it easy on your mind, you know. 1/3 full. I'm gonna put a breathable lid. That could be a paper towel inside of this ring. You could just put a paper towel. I found one, but we're gonna use those anyway. Give thanks. Paper towel, and put that on. Old t-shirt, a sock, and put that on, and now you got a breathable lid.
How about cheesecloth?
Cheesecloth is great. And here's a kicker too, just for everybody out there that loves, never mind, no disrespect, but paper can be used. Paper like,
Yep. Okay.
no, like any kind of paper, computer paper, right?
Yep.
Yeah?
This right here. I can't blow through it.
So you can't use it.
Microbes can easily pass through this. This is breathable. If you put this under a microscope, there's holes in this. Big enough for the lactic acid bacteria to pass through. Now mind you, lactic acid bacteria is probably about 100 times bigger than any virus. At least 100 times, if not thousands of times bigger. I can't blow through this. Lactic acid bacteria can pass right through this paper. You can use newspaper, you know. You guys understand why I did the demonstration? Okay, number 2. Three or 4 days are gonna pass. Actually, 2 to 3 to 4 days, depending on where you are. You're gonna come up to this jar and you're gonna see 3 layers in here. There's gonna be a layer of kind of like a scummy kind of stuff on top. There's gonna be settled rice particles on the bottom, and in between here is gonna be like a kind of like a cloudy liquid. What you're looking for is this middle section right here. So you can use a turkey baster, suck it out. Also, when you pour the jar, that film kind of goes to the side, and then that liquid pours out first. So there's several ways. You can strain it through a cheesecloth or t-shirt, but you're just looking for that middle section. So after you got that isolated, you then inoculate it into milk. So it's 1 to 10 into milk. So here's our jar. We want to get it 1 to 10. So the ratio 1 to 10. Lab catch to milk. Okay, so we also need this to be what? How full? 2/3 full. Okay, so what we're gonna do is easily say that's 2/3. We're keeping things simple again, right? We're using our bio instruments that we are born with. Keeping things simple. And we're gonna make 10 sections up to that line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that need to go a little smaller. Okay, you got 10 increments in your mind. All you need is that 1/10 of the lab serum. And the rest of it can be milk up to here. Don't be afraid if you put more lab serum, that's fine. Sometimes can be beneficial, I've noticed, adding a little extra lab serum to it. All right, so lab to milk, okay? Step 3. Okay, step 3. So you're gonna let that sit on your countertop with a breathable lid for 3 to 7 days. After 3 to 7 days, you'll start seeing separation occur, where the curds and the fats and the proteins are all gonna collect on the top, and underneath you're gonna have a clear yellow serum. That is lactic acid bacteria serum. That's the stuff we're going for. So this is you can make cheese out of this, or these are the curds, and this is the serum, and it's yellow, and you can store it in your refrigerator, and you use it 1 to 500, 1 to 500, 1 to 1,000 labs. It is 1 to 500. So 1 to 500 is a teaspoon per gallon. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I am confused. There's 3 ingredients. There's water, there's rice water.
Rice wash.
There's just rice wash, water, and milk. That's it.
And you're separating it with a turkey baster or sifting it through. And then you add it to what?
To milk.
The milk?
Lacto.
What milk? Okay, so
milk.
there's rice water.
Gallon of milk.
There's only 2 ingredients: rice wash, water, and milk.
You can use nut milk.
Cow milk? I said milk. I asked you milk.
So a lot of vegans want to make this and they don't want to use milk. That's fine, but you're not going to get the same yield. You're going to get way less yield, and you're not going to get the same potency because it's lacking lactose as a feeding source.
So what do? You go to the store and you buy milk, or you milk your goats, or what do you?
You could do either of those. Whatever makes sense. Whatever makes sense to you. I personally don't make that much lab, to tell you the truth. I don't really make that much lab, but really all these recipes are online. They're in the book. Chris Trump has, you know, they're all over the place, these recipes. I also sell a guide. I don't have any with me. Natural Farming Hawaii.net sells a KNF recipe book. There's plenty of recipe guides online. If you just put Korean Natural Farming Handbook, about 5 or 6 new ones are on there with illustrations, the whole 9 yards. But being that this is an advanced class, we're not going to spend too much more time explaining lab. Or actually, we're done with that now. You can store it in the refrigerator, or you can supersaturate it, which means to add the same volume of sugar, and you can leave it on the countertop. We'll get into supersaturating in more detail right about now when we talk about the FPJs. So cool. Any more questions about lab?
1-to-1 sugar for storage, you said, pretty much?
Yeah, 1-to-1. Yep. Volume.
Equal volume, yeah.
If it gets mixed up, like let's say when you're ready to use it, Do you want to wait another day to let it settle again?
When it gets mixed up before you use it.
Like if that section is what you want,
Mm-hmm.
ideally, and let's say it's not handled properly and it's kind of mixed up and everything, would you let it sit for a day or would you just go ahead and strain it?
So after the curds are floating on top and you got your serum, and then like you drove it over to your friend's house or something and a bunch of curds fell into the serum. I personally don't know if just letting it sit would make those float straight back to the top. That would have to be like an experiment, or you could just strain it at that point because it's finished. So now you're just trying to remove the curds from the serum. So I would just strain it through like a cheesecloth or a sock or a compost tea bag or something. Yeah. And then once it's storing, you'll see, yeah, the curds will secondary kind of rise to the top and you can kind of scrape them off, you know. Especially if it's in the refrigerator without the supersaturation. I've noticed anything that makes it through the strainer will definitely keep itself separated on the top. And you can just go in there the next morning and kind of just dump them off or feed them to your dog. So if you're not gonna eat them or make cheese or something with it, feed it to your animals. They love it, especially dogs and like, you know, things that already eat animal product like that and stuff.
It's worked so well at our chicken coop.
That's awesome.
Sprayed it like 3 or 4 times in the matter of like 2 weeks, or maybe 3 weeks. Totally took the smell away.
That's awesome.
That's so dope.
I really didn't even think it would. But
Right. Anecdotal evidence right on the spot, and that's just lab. That's not even implementing the whole KNF chicken coop idea, but just spraying lab to keep smell down. So all these can use independently, or we can use them as the system, you know. That's totally up to us how we want to approach it.
This on a side question, is kombucha a good nutrient-rich food for plants? Kombucha?
So kombucha is basically like a vinegar. So we're going to talk about vinegars right now, and you can like let your kombucha finish to a vinegar and actually let it get to the 4% acidity or something. 2.4% acidity to make it be true vinegar. So kombucha is not quite at that acidity level, so you could let it go longer to get it to be true vinegar. All right, we're all caught up, I think, caught up to speed. We're gonna get some hands-on stuff going on. I'm gonna do this demo first though on OHN. So we're gonna shift gears and get into OHN here for a second. We will have a few volunteers help cut up ginger, and we'll need some large cutting boards for that, and the butchers and the machetes and stuff. We'll find all that when we break out.
You don't make it very often just because you're happy with the microbes on
Yeah, so lab also, so real quick, just to go back to lab real quick. Remember this growth phase thing here?
Yeah.
Lab again is only really used in soil foundation. A little bit right here in growth formula. But after that, you're not really using lab, you know? You shouldn't have to. Right.
Maybe if you have like white flies or...
Exactly. So then lab can be used in your arsenal as a tool. So you see powdery mildew, white fly outbreak, a disturbance in the soil. Like my dog ravaged through my greenhouse and I'm trying to reset all the vibrations, I'm gonna spray lab, you know?
Or you buy a property that's sprayed with Roundup for 40 years and you want to...
100%, that's a great example. A great example of rehabilitating your land, you know? IMO4 would be the ultimate, because IMO4 contains a lot of lab creating IMO4, you know? So, but lab, yeah, in concentration can be used for targeted reasons. Anywhere you need the police, the regulators, the balancers, the righteous police, you know? Yeah, the peacekeepers. Okay. So back to the OHN. OHN is a 5-part recipe, right? And we went over this in class yesterday. My suggestion to you ladies would be to just listen and take notes and then get a guide later on. It's because a lot of the questions will be super answered once those, if I had like a recipe guide in front of you, everything you're writing down and wondering would be already written on that paper. Oriental herbal nutrient. So my suggestion is, instead of trying to figure out every single recipe we're going to go over today, is just to listen, take notes, and then dive into it when you have a recipe guide in front of you. Or else you're going to drive yourself crazy trying to figure all this out. Do we got machetes and stuff? All right, just in a minute. So let's talk about these herbs real quick. Cinnamon has been rehydrating with the local beer that we had, and it's looking pretty much rehydrated. You know, it's getting nice and soft in here. We got the licorice in here, and
Wow.
it's so potent and nice.
Look at that.
Lots of, these have all rehydrated enough. The rehydration's about 24 to 48 hours. So we're pretty much there. The garlic. The garlic has the beer in it as well, because it was store-bought garlic and not fresh garlic. And then here on the, you see on the Angelica, you got a lot of mycelium growing. Yeast, lab. Because this herb had a lot more of its own freshness to it still. It still had liquid in the herb. So when we activate it with the beer and the yeast, it just starts basically already like making an FPJ. It's just already doing its thing, breaking down. But
Did you add yeast to that, Logan?
well, the yeast from the beer.
From the beer, gotcha.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna show you step number 2, and I'll do a demo right now, and then we'll make the ginger. So usually if you're harvesting these herbs out of the earth fresh, you don't need to rehydrate with the beer. We went over this in last class. I'm not gonna harp on it too long here. Next step is to make your sugar ferment. So if you read Master Cho's recipe, there's a precise guide to doing all this. Okay, I've made it several times, and I understand the alchemy behind it, and I want you guys to understand the alchemy behind it too. Why did we rehydrate the herbs with beer? Anybody?
For the hops.
Because of the yeast,
That's so
and it's a
long.
nutrient too for other things to feed on.
Okay.
It retains it so long.
Okay, those are all good answers, but what's the simplest reason?
Moisturize it to get
Yeah, reinstate that
rehydrate
medicinal
through life.
properties.
Right, we just needed to re-moisturize it to make it like it was pulled out of the earth.
Yeah.
And we added beer to activate and mimic some kind of microbial life, right? And so it's now rehydrated as if we pulled it out of the earth. And why I'm going over this is because now we just make the fermented plant juice. Just like we would make an FPJ, we're gonna do that with these herbs. And so if you pulled these out of the earth, you wouldn't have to rehydrate them with beer, okay? This garlic is gonna be a lot.
Pour that off.
What's that?
Do you pour off the liquid?
No, you leave the beer in there.
They're in there, right?
Yeah, you leave the beer in there.
Feeds a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, if there's excessive, you could pour some off, you know, but you're hoping it absorbs most of it. And there's a lot of good vibes in there, so we're just gonna leave the beer in there. I don't know why it.
Yeah, that was good beer too. It was Ola, right?
You think we went more than 8 kilograms of garlic?
Chris Charles uses like
Just thinking.
Oh, the 40.
And did you add 8 more? All of it. Okay.
So I think we're probably adding yeast.
Okay. I'm just gonna take a little bit out, just because we could. Maybe if you want to grab a 5-gallon bucket, I'm just gonna take a little out, and we could make a separate one, just so this goes a little smoother.
Yeah. That is full 8. We were talking about doing a little bit less possible.
There's some mighty nasty smells coming out of Budweiser.
Yeah. So basically, the difference in volumes of these herbs is just how much they weigh. You know, so since this bark was like real hollow and stuff, it looks a lot like there's a lot more of it. And that's kind of going to affect this next step a little bit, but not too much. Yeah, we'll just remove, take a good like 6 inches off that or something.
Is that too much garlic?
No, not really. I just want to make sure that this next step goes smooth and we're not just,
Break it in half out.
yeah, because we could just make another bucket right here. That's what we'll do.
That's
Perfect. Okay, so what we're gonna do is basically you basically add equal volume of sugar, more or less. In the book it says equal weight. In the book it says equal weight, the herbs and the beer combined. But that ends up being like a lot of sugar, so what I'm suggesting is you treat it like an FPJ. Just make sure everything is nicely coated. You want everything to be nicely coated with sugar. A little bit hard to tell when you got a lot of liquid in there, but so we're setting these up for their next phase, which is the sugar ferment. And we can what we're gonna do as a class are a few volunteers, and Noah could start leading that. Is we're gonna chop up the ginger because we haven't done that yet. So there's that box of ginger, and maybe if we wanted to set up a chopping station over here, and we're gonna need to chop up that. I know in those bags there I got 4 kilos, I think. I think we need 8 kilos altogether.
9 pounds.
And those bags is 4 kilos. The clear bags.
Yeah, we have
With the skin, hopefully you're pulling it out of the ground alive. So these are gonna get a lot more sugar than this, but I'm just starting them off. Let's see.
It smells so good.
Yeah. You know, actually I would probably take a little bit of beer out of here.
Nice to see you.
Just gonna take a little of this liquid out of here.
These bags we got plenty. What's that?
Yeah, that's, yep. I should have done just a little bit of straining before. But this is not, I mean, Master Cho says to leave all that beer in there, but I don't know, I'm good on all that beer. The objective was done of rehydrating the herbs with beer. Just about equal volume and mix. That's kind of more what I want to see, like that. Where it's actually the sugar, it's not just a bunch of liquid, it's actually making a sugary slosh or whatever you call it.
Right, coating everything.
Yeah. So yep, basically just going in for the ferment now. Okay, let me get some more sugar on these.
Would you like me to help you scoop?
Yeah, I'm just gonna probably dump it on. You got, if anybody wants to get garlicky, they can. Just need to start mixing those. We got one more sugar somewhere?
Yeah. Yeah. Two more bags.
She's gonna grab it. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're gonna get more sugar on these and make sure they're nice and coated. Yeah, there's a lot at the bottom.
Can I pour a little bit of the beer in this other one?
Yeah, do that. That'd be a great idea.
You want me to get like a rock for this one?
Yep, eventually. I want to add more sugar though, I think. These are just so big, they're not packing down at all. Could have broke those up.
Public school. Clean sledgehammer.
Yeah, we could just fucking get a shovel or something.
And they let you have a she had what age?
You got a shovel nearby?
Yeah, we've got an OO bar and shovels and everything with that right there. Over by the IMO pile, there's that kind of skinny shovel. That'll fit good.
Yeah, I like that Angelica is a different one you don't used to, you know.
Here. Fresh. It smells like kimchi.
Kimchi!
Kimchi head! I'm allergic to garlic, but this is my way of getting close to it.
Oh no.
No, it's good.
Oh, to eat?
To eat it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I love it.
I was like, what? Don't break out in hives, please.
That's what I thought too. I was like, wait.
Yeah, no.
No, not that kind, guys.
That'll be good for this setup here, yeah. Probably gonna need that for the ginger. So go ahead and throw another coat on each one of these.
I started collecting the information for you on Chinese herbs.
Oh, cool.
I realized
So much.
it literally is a whole different.
Yeah, go ahead and go. Yeah, do what you're doing. Yeah, break them up.
It really
Just like
is
you're
a
doing.
lot. That's a whole herbalism school right there.
Yeah, and there's a lot
Which
of
is
like
fascinating.
Chinese words and concepts, right? And I was like, this isn't gonna work.
I bet there's already a document that's written out there for us that we just need to find.
Probably.
I bet that there's something that we can find.
Mixing, because each of these herbs has like different parts of the plants that the Chinese use, and then if you treat them a different way, like if you soak them in vinegar, if you dry them, if you char them, they do different things.
Yep.
Well, and garlic even, like you can garlic, some of them have the roots and some of them don't, some of them are treated and some of them
And then
aren't.
the plants are cool, like in the way that if a plant, let's say, has a toxin in it, or like
Nice, that looks way better.
it also has.
Yeah, I don't want to chop it because I don't want to.
Right.
Nice.
So like, yeah, in the same plant.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then you look at this and you're adding beer, and you're adding sugar, and like it's
Pretty much good. How's it
A little more
looking?
sugar, I think we're good.
Yeah, I inherited my mom's permaculture books. One and two, and the second one's all just the Hawaiian La'alapau. And it's like,
That'd be awesome.
it's got basically just like 3 thick books.
oh yeah,
That's awesome. That's like hard to find those materials sometimes.
Okay, I think we're good.
like you can't find it really. Was it completely
Remember how I did the banana?
Yeah.
How's this looking, Logan?
It's looking great.
You think you would add a little more sugar, or is
No,
that pretty okay?
it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like an FPJ, you know?
Okay. This one. Oh wow, that's interesting. It smells like every tincture that I've ever taken.
Yeah, right, the Angelica.
Like everything.
Okay, we're looking great. These are ready to ferment, sugar ferment. Gallon bucket. We're trying to get it to about 2/3 full.
Wow.
That's funny.
What a good idea.
Yeah, once you add the vodka, everything dies. Yeah. Now you're just tincturing. But these guys got it all loosened up. So without it, you would just kind of be hacking at the plant, trying to extract just with the power of the alcohol. Well, this is already fermented slightly, so that means the microbes have gone in there and chewed up all the edges and kind of like loosened and fluffered up the herb to then be extracted that much more efficiently and get that many more constituents out of it, let alone all the metabolic discharge and action that took place from the microbes breeding and eating and all that. So you're getting all those nutrients also in your tincture. Yeah. So it's kind of like a pre-primer to be extracted instead of just going straight into extraction.
No, bro, is it better to be bigger particles or smaller like that?
You just want them to be like an inch or so, you know.
Oh, okay.
You know, 1/2 inch to 2 inches, fine, you know.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, I mean, the more the surface is showing, the
area,
more you're going to
it'll draw
extract.
it out.
Right, right.
Right, exactly.
And then
You can, grab this other.
She got brown sugar and ginger. It's it is. It's like
From back there.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a great combo.
Aromatherapy. What's a good manner?
Just the roots of it all cut up. See how they chopped it all up?
And so the goal with the sugar is just to coat it enough to get the FPJ process going, the sugar ferment, the extraction going.
The osmotic pressure of the sugar drawing out the liquid.
It smells like a pie.
So what you need to understand is basically the fresh herbs are getting FPJ'd, you know, they're getting sugar ferments. That's plenty.
It's already working, you see what I'm saying?
I can smell the minerals. I can smell it.
Mm-hmm. Getting released.
Ginger's unreal.
Just like, I'm gonna stick my head in there.
Yeah, let's combine those two now.
He means it.
Okay, awesome. That's about perfect, bro. We're at about 2/3 where we want to be.
And you always pack it pretty heavy, don't you?
For an FPJ, you do, yeah. And that's essentially what we're doing here. And that's why I want you guys to understand. No, not any other Korean natural farming teachers are gonna tell you that kind of simplicity. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a separate recipe. You're basically doing a sugar ferment just like you would an FPJ. So now we got them all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all ready to what we're gonna do is come in with some vinegar or a damp cloth, wipe the tops to keep the ants away, and then we're gonna put the breathable lid just like we did with the FPJs. Some of the students can go ahead and do that. Maybe Noah, if you want to grab those rubber bands and stuff, I think are in that box. What we just now did was step number 2 to our OHN. So last class we rehydrated the herbs. This class we put it to a sugar ferment. So we're gonna let that ride now for 3 to 7 days before we then go into our tincturing mode, which next class will go to the first round of tincture next Saturday. So that's why we set this class up with the spacing between, so all the students can see these processes take place, so they're no longer a mystery, but they're all attainable, within reach, easily done. That's the whole goal of doing these group input making class like this, as opposed to the classroom setting. So last Saturday we did FPJ and FAA, right? So right now we need to check those and possibly strain them, even though did I bring my strainer? Yeah, I brought some strainers. Nice, yeah, we got the strainers. Gee. So if they're done, we're gonna strain them. So maybe if Gunnar, some of the boys can just grab the FAA buckets and FPJ buckets and bring in them right here so everyone can see them. Just the FPJs for now.
We did the hono grass, the banana, the crossover, the flowering.
Yeah, all 3, right?
Yep. So to recap, last Saturday, we did the honu grass as a vegetative formula. We did the flowering parts of the banana flower and super young banana as a crossover. And then we did almost ripe and ripe bananas as a flowering finishing formula. Or more as a finishing ripening formula, excuse me. And the FAAs we can wait for now.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, boys. Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll just go straight to this one since it's clear. And you guys can see what's going on in here. So check it out. You see all that liquid in there?
Can you come and look?
Yeah, if you want, we can pass it around too. But basically, what we're witnessing here is that after day 1, the material started to float. So we put a rock on top, and that's an unwashed rock from the yard, just to hold the material down. Okay, so anyway, I'm coming out here and I'm checking on my FPJ. It's been Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's the 4th day. So we're in the window, right? 3 to 7 days. We're in the window to harvest our FPJ. I come out here, the first thing I do is I look down. What do I see? You guys, can anybody see what's going on in here? White mold on top, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's white mold on top mean?
Could be ready.
Could be ready.
Huh.
Right?
Is that mycelium or mold?
Isn't that the same thing?
Okay, yeah.
No, but it's not a negative mold. It's mostly lactic acid bacteria, maybe some, you know, what you'd consider like those green molds, which aren't necessarily the ones we're going for. It could be some babies of those, but it's not exhibiting black, greens, browns, or any negative color molds at this point, which is a great sign. So sometimes using store-bought bananas or something, you might get that early, some green molds and stuff. But since this is nice wild product, you won't really see that until you leave it for like 14 days or something like that, you know? Okay, so anyway, I checked it out visually. We're using our human bio instrument. Checked it out visually. My first check said white mold, might be done, possibly not. What do I do next?
Test it.
No, it's not.
Interesting. Kind of planty, banana-y, green banana-y. Really sweet smelling, you know? Just making note of all this in my mind as I sniff, you know? And it's not just, you know, you gotta kind of like know, breathe into it a little bit, you know? Like get to know it a little bit. But I don't have any alcohol smell going into my nose, okay? Which is also the prime indicator that it's definitely done. If you had a slight alcohol smell, prime indicator that it's done, and you want to pull it. Heavy alcohol smell, it went too long. You kind of missed your window. We're going to dump that onto the compost pile or strain the FPJ and use it as a compost inoculant. We could also bubble that up in a tea to kind of make it back to an aerated, more alkaline type formula, but really we're just gonna want to stick with our good FPJs, you know. We could use the leftovers to make a fruit vinegar, and that's what we're gonna show you also. So nothing's lost by the thing went too long and you got vinegar. You can still use it on your farm. You can still use the bananas to make vinegar after, etc. So a good thing is like this, there's already a rock on here, so you know that's under. Another reason why this is like this is because the clear, you know, let a lot of light in, which isn't necessarily ideal. You know, you kind of want these in a shaded area, not in like direct light, you know. So that all that contributed to early formation of this white mold. You can always, if I wanted to leave this, I would just press this down and make sure all my material is under the liquid, and that would help prevent more growth of that white mold. I'm going to use this one as an example though and go ahead and strain it. It is within the window of 3 to 7 days, so it's still a viable FPJ, and it's still a very valuable FPJ, even though it hasn't gone to its maximum ferment, but it's definitely not too young to not strain. So to strain this, grab my strainer, and you could use a variety of things. You can use a compost tea bag, an old hash bag, kitchen grade strainers like this, but you do want, you know, kind of a fine mesh strain on this, you know. Sometimes material that gets through will float to the top of your final vessel, and you can remove the rest of it at that point. You get a quick rinse on this or a clean bucket, one or the other. That one's good to go. Yeah. So we just want a semi-clean bucket since this isn't for human grade. Since we're not looking to make this an edible human grade product, we're gonna go ahead and the bucket doesn't have to be 100% clean or anything. These are food grade plastic that we are making these in though. It's not meaning that the microbes aren't eating away at the plastic and making it, you know, go into your food like shitty, lesser grade plastics could do. So easy strain, just like this. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll go like this, and then I'll go do some farm work and come back and just kind of let it strain by gravity. You can also put all this like into a compost tea sock and hang it and let it drain by gravity. A few notes to make when straining your FPJ. I know online you might see people using a press or like an apple cider press or squeezing it really hard with their hands. That's not necessarily what we want to do. One of my teachers told me treat it like if it's like some bugs, you know. We're not trying to squeeze the guts out of them. So don't, like, if you're gonna go and try to squeeze this, like pretend like it's a bunch of bugs. You're not trying to kill them, you know. But you can, like, you know, you do want to get all the FPJ out of it, so you can apply some pressure, but you don't want to squeeze them till they crush, basically, is what that means, you know. So you can still hear it dripping in there, but you know, I can apply a little pressure. Just kind of make the process go a little quicker. But ideally you could just chill and go do some other work or go smoke some hash or something and come back to this. So after this we'll check the other ones just to see if we should mass strain this today or if we should do that tomorrow or next class, or maybe even have some of the farmers around here do it in between, because we want to make sure that we get the highest grade possible. So you see it's still dripping a little, but we're going to move on just for the sake of the class and just kind of show you this next step. Actually, I'll show you in one of these jars just because it's easier. All right, so we strained our FPJ, and then we're gonna go to store it or use it. You could use it as is, or you can store it for use later. And there's two ways to store it. Oh. So, two ways to store it. Number one, you have like a refrigerator, like you're like a single guy and you don't have any food, or a family, and you put them in your refrigerator. But since that's not all of us, and maybe your wife might wonder why there's no room in the refrigerator. You might want a farm refrigerator. So anyway, like maybe an external refrigerator, but then if you're off the grid, you don't got that. So what are we gonna do?
A root cellar?
It's a good idea. But we're gonna supersaturate it for long-term storage if we don't have a refrigerator. This can go straight in the refrigerator. We label it, goes straight in the refrigerator. We use it 1 to 500. That's 2 teaspoons per gallon, right? 8 milliliters per gallon, 2 teaspoons approximately. So I'll show you the process of supersaturation real quick. It's really simple. It's basically 1-to-1 FPJ to sugar. Yeah, I'm just going to show you in this jar just for the sake of the class right now. And we're going to need to do this at volume if we're going to strain these. We haven't got that far yet though. So you can use these graduated markings here. It's an easy way to tell. But right now I'm at 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm so it'd be cups, it would be 3 cups of FPJ are in here right now. So if I wanted to supersaturate this, the general rule of thumb is to add 1 to 1 brown sugar. So if there's 3 cups of FPJ, how much brown sugar would that be?
3 cups.
Right.
Of slightly packed brown sugar.
Right. So, and another way to do it if we didn't have those graduations is to just, easiest way is that you're gonna fill it up that same amount.
Same volume.
So like I could go like that, and then I can move my finger right there, and I know I'm trying to fill it up for the liquid to get to right there. And that doesn't guarantee supersaturation either, that's just a general rule of thumb. Oh nice, the scooper. Scooper tool. Almost there.
Once the brown sugar doesn't like dissolve,
That's in supersaturation.
Yeah, a couple more.
That's about it right there.
Maybe.
Oh,
That's closer.
Okay, let's see where we're at.
Yeah, as soon as you do that,
We want this dissolved in there. So we're at 3, 1, 1, 2. Oh no, I need a little more sugar. After it dissolved, it fell down a little bit. And mind you, we're supersaturating. Can anyone explain what supersaturating is?
where the solution cannot take in any more of either salt or sugar or whatever you're supersaturating.
Right, really close. Right,
You put in all the what you want on your cryo.
right.
Basically, just like
What's
waiting
within
for them to
stasis?
get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, waiting for them to explode. Just add water.
Yeah, those are all correct answers. The basic answer would be that we're bloating them with sugar so they can't absorb any more water. Therefore, they go into stasis.
Yep.
So they just pause.
Hang out.
They're just bloated with sugar to the point no water can touch them anymore. So they can't do anything. They just have to sit there. So as soon as, but they're not dying either. They're just kind of in suspended animation. So then to make them alive again is just dilute them with water, like Ola said. So we're pretty much at 6 cups now, and I want to make sure this is in here all nice and mixed up. And then there's a few ways to check supersaturation, like you know, there's these sticks laying around. If the stick floats, see how it floats?
Look at that. Oh yeah.
That's one way to see it.
Wow.
Another way to see it is make a nice little get a little handful of sugar
And see if it'll dissolve.
and stick it on the top. If it floats like a, what do you call this, iceberg, then you're good.
Which it is.
See that one? It's not falling, right?
Yep.
It might fall after a few minutes or a few seconds. If it falls like within 30 seconds, you're not really there, you know? So we're at supersaturation. The stick floated and the iceberg shows us, you know? So super simple ways to see supersaturation. Then I would rinse this jar, label it, and we got banana FPJ.
That's the crossover, or is that the flower?
This would be more like the almost ripe banana, so it's, yeah.
And that's without a breathable lid?
To see, no, yeah, you would actually leave a breathable lid on it. You're right, yeah. So, and that could just be as much as leaving this loose. Yeah.
And then are your ratios going to be different with the supersaturated one?
No, you're gonna keep it the same.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. Good question. Those were some of my original questions too.
And you said that if it were to smell like alcohol, you could use it on your compost or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. It's not like the end of the world, but you just may not want to use it in your plant growing system for sensitive plants. But say you had an orchard or something, like go ahead and still dump it on the soil, you know? Diluted, that is, you know? Yeah. Yep. So, that being said and done, we'll come back and supersaturate that one, or Alex can use it on his farm as is.
Are you supposed to wait after you put that other sugar in?
No, now it's ready to use. Either one of these are ready to use, and this one's ready to store in the refrigerator. This one can stay out in the shade at room temperature for, you know, up to like 6 months or so. You want FPJs are better fresh though, so you're not really looking to use a 6-month FPJ, as opposed to OHN, the herbal nutrient. The older the better, you know. Or the FAA, the older the better, like a fine wine, you know, they're just getting better, micronizing more and more and more, readily available more and more and more, bioavailable more and more and more as they break down. So let's go ahead and we'll check some of these. If someone wants to volunteer just to come lift the lid off of one of these and we'll check it out, one of each. My hands are all sugary. Yeah, here it is. Open this honu grass here. Yeah.
The rubber band, you got it.
The flowering banana, honu.
A rat trap.
Nice. Nice, okay. So.
How's that?
Oh, wow, yeah. Nice, yeah, smell this one over here.
Ooh.
Did you smell? Little alcohol?
Like a little bit, just a tad.
That's what I smell, that's what I smell.
It was like not too much.
Wow. It's like a turtle.
Everybody smell this one as far as the first sight of alcohol.
Just the first sight.
Is that what the turtles eat?
No, honu grass is that grass that's almost like a weed on your land. It has kind of like a roundness to it and it's kind of wet in the middle.
Oh, pretty blue flower. I don't know.
They do flower, yeah. So this one is all indicators tell us that one's ready, right? Yeah. We have a little bit of white mold. We have the very slightest smell of alcohol.
And it's bubbling.
And it's active, highly active and bubbling.
There's no liquid in it. It's just plain organic matter in the bananas.
Did I hear my voice?
So that was the flowering. So let's check one of just the straight banana.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's kind of like
a little longer.
on the
Straight banana. Let's pull the lid off that one.
Oh, look at the phone. Look at that. Wow, look at all the liquid.
See those bubbles? Nice and active. How's that one smell, Sean?
It smells like a
Little vinegary. Okay, bro, that's what we're looking for. I'm not picking up the alcohol in that one as much as I did in this one, but it is kind of starting.
sitting for a week.
It's been sitting for 4 days.
That's it.
Went alcoholic after like 2 days, but it was like mostly the syrup. You remember that jar I got? It was like this much grass and then, you know, mostly liquid, but like 2 days in.
And it was just already on. Oh, wow. Wow. And that had
I think it might have been too much of the sugar.
No. Just maybe just the smaller volume and maybe the temperature of where it was stored, and all those are factors, you
It's
know.
got more surface area compared to a jar. That's
Oh, that's another thing too. If it wasn't at 2/3,
yeah, it was just like
it's not gonna
much,
treat.
You know?
So okay, so a great thing Sam just brought up. When we made honu grass at the class last time, there was leftover because there was too much to fill the bucket 2/3. So Sam had put some in a jar and took it home. There was only about a quarter in the jar.
Yes.
And what'd you notice, Sam?
It turned alcoholic after like 2 days.
Oh, it did.
It turned alcoholic after 2 days. Is that what we want? No. Why did it do that?
Too much air.
Too much air.
Yeah.
Exactly. So proof is in the pudding. Once again, Sam showed us anecdotally that 2/3 is critical, right? Because the thing went to alcohol within 2 days. That's not what we want. It didn't do a proper ferment. We didn't get the activity we want. We didn't get the time frame we were looking for. So that's showing you that ratios matter. Okay? So what I think we should do here is we need like a, do we have that one did I leave that black bin? Because basically we could strain all these into one thing. So either like a big bucket,
like the big tote you wanted,
or that tote that I brought, or any kind of tote, or another 5-gallon buckets, trash can. Yeah, there you go, even better.
For coffee.
So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna strain together as a class. We're gonna strain and supersaturate these. We're gonna check on FAA and then take a lunch break.
Sweet.
So that's the order of the day. So since we're all here doing this, we'll go ahead and strain the honu honu grass as well, even though it could go a couple more days. It's still within our 3 to 7 day window. So for the sake of the class and moving everything forward, we're gonna strain the honu honu as well.
But it's still
Perfect.
smelling a little bit green, yeah.
Still smelling green, yeah.
But it smells great.
Yeah, it smells like
So let's
Yes.
we also need, yep, thank you.
Chicken wire.
Yeah, we're gonna need that probably. So let's go ahead and we're gonna need like someone to actually hold this and someone to pour flour. We're gonna do all this flowering banana right now.
We've got a bigger strainer too, if you want.
Yeah.
Like a big one that'll sit.
Yeah, we do want that, yeah.
Yeah. Give me the secret stuff. Just kidding.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. No, I know.
Your secret tools.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah. You ready?
Oh yeah, you wanna set it up?
Oh yeah.
This guy, bro.
Smart.
This guy is smart, bro. I know he is an engineer.
I knew I brought those cedar planks for something.
Whoa. One way to do it, eh?
Yeah, that's for the bigger strainer. Here it is.
It's good right now. Here, I'll just help you.
Nice.
I'll be this.
You wanna go ahead and just lift it up, or?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, am I holding it?
Somebody had too many.
All right.
There we go. Go ahead and just
Beautiful.
you could just dump that in now.
Oh, hopefully that doesn't look. Sorry. I understand what you did.
Yeah, sorry, I was about to say it.
Does it have to be
Dump this
perfectly
in.
placed, or-
Yeah, go ahead and dump that
Yeah,
in.
either perfectly placed
Perfect.
or we put a stick through it. So, like,
Oh yeah,
just make
stick.
sure that it
Oh,
does it.
see, that's also using your brain.
No,
Like a long
you got a stick to for the stick tech. It's got to be a better stick than a Royal Pea though.
How about this one?
It's got to be more real stick like
This one.
Oh, I think it needs to be a long one. all the way. But this ain't gonna work anyway, because we need to work this. We're good.
Yeah, we're.
You wanna hold that right there? And we'll just lightly press this just to make sure. Yeah, that'll work. But this one's already strained, so.
Next one. Next time.
Next.
Hey Jin, you want to go grab one of the buckets that has the holes in it? We can put all the old, the trash cans, because
Sorry about that.
Oh, no.
The other fingers.
I did
all
it.
the old material.
That was
Here,
me.
you want to try this across there? Or are you good?
Yeah, because I'm gonna need to work it anyway, so we're all good.
We're doing the flowering, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Banana flour.
inside the big stalk.
Yeah, let's do them all. Which one is that? Is that the banana flour?
Yeah, these are all the flowering.
Okay, let's dump them on.
Chop that up in one.
And put that in.
Uh-oh. We lost one.
It's all good. We'll take them out. No biggie.
Oh, this is great, you guys.
This is awesome, volume style. Okay.
Doing good.
And so all this leftover fruit we're gonna turn into fruit vinegar too. Okay.
Oh, it's smelling good. Yeah, this bucket can be
I
for
think I'm gonna go without the stick. Oh,
that
okay.
stuff, so you don't have enough.
Okay, next.
Do you think the wood would work?
Press it a little bit. So, were they all? What happened there?
Another banana here.
Was there just, did we label?
Crossover is right over here. That's what.
There's another bucket right here.
Wait a second, did we mix?
No, there were flowers were not with the bananas.
The flour and banana.
Oh, we have those somewhere else?
Yeah.
Crossover right over here, and then we still have the whole.
Were they
monograph.
mislabeled? These are like the ripe ones.
This one is whole right here.
It might have been not. We just had more bananas.
We only had 2 that were just straight banana flour. Were those set aside?
Yeah, right over here. Crossover. Crossover and crossover.
Okay, and that one over there?
Monograph.
Okay, so let's pour the rest in then. Okay, we're good, we're good. Nice.
Yeah, I think we have a lot less flour.
Somebody's paying attention. Okay, let's pour these guys in.
Oh. Yeah. That's the waste.
This is super wasted.
Okay, yeah, I can add to that. Are we officially out of sugar at this moment? Just what's up here is all we got.
No, I think, was there 1 or 2 more bags down there, or is that it? That was it? That was it, yes.
Okay.
And then right there by your foot.
It's all good, it's all good. We'll just super saturate these tonight or something.
Yeah.
Just do one,
Yeah, let's see how far we get, or we can hand them out.
I've got a
people
walk-in
can
fridge.
saturate
We can
them.
go take this down to Kehoe.
Yeah, well, we did a lot.
The KNF Extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just do little. Yeah, you can like a
Big do not touch.
Yeah.
It's not what you think.
Farming Associated.
Like a Russian river.
Awesome.
Yeah, they were huge rats. And then the banana had
Do a little squeeze on that one.
Oh, steady streams.
Oh, that one's dumping. I want a little more ripe fruit in it.
Is the rhythm of how you shake the strainer?
I know.
Not necessarily. Just make a lot of hash. That's kind of the move that you make.
That's right. You're getting some
You get the quick jolts like that. Pop,
Yeah.
pop, pop, pop,
shake
pop,
out the
pop,
water.
pop, pop. Hashtag, that's a different class. Costs more money.
Yeah.
costs more money.
Sweet. Look at all that.
Look at all that.
Let me see what color.
Wow.
Under the mango tree.
That's probably like 5 gallons almost.
And now we can put this through more of that fine mesh strainer. And maybe get some clean 5-gallon buckets to put it into. Those are clean? Perfect?
Pretty much, yeah.
More or less. Yeah, or maybe might need that one, but Gunner, you want to lift and pour, or Derek?
Yeah, I got it.
Just gonna get it through more of this fine mesh screen just to strain out some more of the solid particles. Awesome, bro. Oh. Okay, hold on one second.
Take note. Here's that text.
The whole screen is clogged now with fine, so it's going real slow through. So wait, just 1 second. Let me clear the screen so it goes through easier.
Final screening.
Final screening.
Oh, you do the Hawaii double screen.
Double screen kind.
It's not mandatory.
You want to put it in this bucket?
Yep. Great idea. Just like whack it off into there.
Sure.
And whack it pretty hard, nice couple times. Yep. Okay. Awesome. So it looks like we got about 3.5 gallons or so, 4 gallons maybe, 3.5 of almost ripe and ripe banana FPJ.
Good medicine.
High grades. So all these are human consumable. So like last class, and I'm gonna set one up for Saturday's class, we had a guava FPJ soda, which was phenomenal. Claire made some mint FPJ yerba mate, which was phenomenal. And then today, is the have blackberry FPJ or just juice or?
Black raspberry.
Syrup?
Guava
FPJ
yeah.
or syrup?
Yeah.
FPJ.
FPJ.
So yeah.
Rosemary syrup.
Awesome. Nice. So that's the yerba mate that we're drinking today. And the point I'm bringing that up, the reason why is that all the KNF nutrients are human grade consumable, and they all add to your health, vitality, immune system. Okay, because remember last class with Jai, the cutting edge science is that your microbiome either is or is a good majority of your immune system. So that's cutting edge science. Your microbiome is a majority or maybe even the complete, well, I mean, we know there's white blood cells and stuff, but it's a major part of your immune system, your ability to respond to pathogens that enter from the outside. And what KNF does is strengthens your microbiome. Just like it does in the soil, it does for you inside and outside. So IMO 4 saunas, FPJ drinks, you know, etc. So here we go. And here's the final product right here. And we can now supersaturate that and store it.
Or use it right away.
Or use it on your field. Or stick it in the refrigerator. So for sake of this class, I didn't bring any lids, but we'll just go ahead and put the breathable lid back on it and store it till the end of the day, and the farmers here at this farm will take care of it, either supersaturating or put it in a refrigerator. And then once that's done, next class we're gonna distribute these to all of us that are here, and depending on how much there is, we'll just divide it up equally amongst ourselves and take that home. All right, so let's go ahead and strain these other two. We'll talk about FAA and then do a lunch break. And we'll get these banana flour. Yeah, these are the flowers. Awesome. We definitely did that right. And then how many more of these do we got floating around?
Like how, you know, the ratio of a person getting banged in the car.
Okay.
We're saying that.
What were the odds? Like, yeah, what were the odds? The three of them.
Thousands that it came.
Okay.
You know, you only see the
Like three.
There we go.
If you drive drunk.
You got it?
No, yeah, I got it. We're good.
No, if you drive on trim, this is
They're casualties. Yeah.
You let that one sit for a minute too. You want to let it sit?
Yeah.
Nice.
It doesn't make that much a liquid, does it?
Yeah, I thought I was.
Compared to everything.
No, it's about the same.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, you can just start pressing.
Has a different smell.
Yeah, the flowers.
More frequent.
like the penis and
Literally.
You know the real kind of mushroom?
Oh, I like the kind that mushroom tea.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I want to make some mushroom tea for the next, the last of this class.
That has mushrooms in it too.
Is it?
Party
Is
in
that?
this little 3 day.
Mushroom tea, or is there mushroom tea?
I mean, it's like
Tea together.
powdered in there.
Those girls are off the hook. Aunties are ready to turn up.
Yeah, I was gonna say we invited the rowdy class around.
Right? Trying to keep it mellow, and then the old lady showed up.
Oh, YOLO.
Okay, let's go ahead and dump this one. It's fine if we dump it in there too. And then watch, there's going to be a bunch of FPJ in that bucket too, just from, oh actually there's holes in it, so they won't.
Yeah, no, it's just feeding the...
yeah, the earth underneath it.
Okay, that it's draining you guys?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Let's go ahead and, is it just these two are the last ones?
Yeah.
Should I cross over one?
Yeah.
To put more in?
If we got it, yeah.
Yeah, probably. And you could grab the green one or whichever one that doesn't have holes
I know, but was
too.
this was a shit?
Is there any flowers in that bucket or no?
I don't know. I can't tell. It doesn't look like it.
How about this one? What's this one all about?
Yeah, there's bits of flowers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the flower.
crossover, yeah.
Nice. You want to do it?
Sure.
Go for it.
Sit it?
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell Alex has made some bulk KNF. He's got all the goodies laying around.
Yeah, you have.
Double this coffee implements.
Double.
There's so much in here. Oh my god.
I know, there's probably so much that we could get if we just let it sit for like an hour, you know?
Yeah, seriously.
The top deck was.
People at home can do that.
Yeah. Sometimes for the sake of the class.
When they pull it off, it'll probably be about.
But yeah, I mean, even look if...
Of green beans.
Oh, yeah.
40, something like that. Or no, parchment. Oh, parchment.
Yeah, there's tons still in there.
Yeah, about 200. And then by the time you roast it, it'll be about 100.
Oh my goodness, there we go.
Well, it takes almost 8 pounds of
Yeah,
sugar to make
there
1
we
pound of
go.
drinkable coffee. You don't realize that.
It's a gentle massage.
A gentle squeeze, yeah.
And a lot of
Yeah, dump it.
hand pick.
$1 a cup of coffee in there.
That's right.
Claire, can I have this to make it
Is there any juice coming off of that? Do you guys want to save that? or-
There's a ton of juice still in there, but we're just kind of moving through for the sake of the class. And one more.
Give me to wash this one here.
I think, what's that last bucket? Is that flour too or no? What's that one?
That one right
This was
there?
the one that was just put together. Derek, is this the one?
Oh, that's
we just on the flour?
Yeah, that's why
It's gourmet.
What is it?
That's the one. That is the
It's
banana juice.
it's the actual bananas, the more ripe bananas.
Oh, that's the one we just did,
Yeah.
the final product. Oh, cool. Okay, so let's put this into a bucket, strained.
Yeah.
So I didn't just put it.
The one you guys just did.
And how you flip it over, that's a good idea.
So that was flowering. So this one was just the.
Yeah, we can call it ripening, or just put a number 3. What I mark mine is with 1, 2, and 3. That's not a KNF thing, but it would be a number 3 formula, indicating to me that it's a finishing or near finishing type FPJ. Where the flowering one is more the crossover, the middle section. So we can supersaturate this one because we got enough sugar here. There's about that much.
Right below this.
There's about that much in there. So I'm trying to get it kind of up to the bottom of that E. Whoa!
Oh no!
Tricked me.
What was that?
Fish bones.
Probably don't want to put it back in there.
We can strain it off though, it's all good.
Oh, now we're in uncharted territory.
Wow, what do we make?
What is that again? The bone?
They're for the next recipe for after lunch.
Next level alchemy.
Some advanced.
Okay, this is definitely.
Here, let me strain this real quick.
I'm pretty sure you know.
Don't sell anyone fishbone FPJ, watch out.
Yeah, right?
This is how you work metaphysical grade.
Part of two, you guys, with the volume on sugar, you want to slightly pack it. Because you don't want to have it in a really loose on the cup, you want to slightly pack it, and that's the right volume.
You made chocolate chip cookies before there, John?
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of baking, you guys. Yeah. Baking's one thing you got to follow the recipe. Other things you cannot, the baking you have to follow.
Okay, so feels like we need a little more. And then I'll start testing it for that what do you call those, iceberg status.
That's probably going to be hard to make it up. The polar caps are melting.
Yep, so that shows us that it needs a little more sugar.
Sorry, polar bear.
Polar ice caps melted. You're done.
It's like grim. That's what I do.
Let's try that one.
Probably need a little more, maybe.
Tiny bit more and we're there. Almost there. Pretty much there. We're just gonna do one more big handful and call it good.
You can also tell how thick this is.
Yeah, it starts getting syrupy.
Right, syrupy.
And buoyant. And plenty buoyancy.
I like that way of testing buoyancy, that's cool.
Yeah, the stick one was trippy.
The stick was great.
More or less super saturated. The wooden kitchen spoon is like the ultimate weight as far as checking it. Like these dead branches are super buoyant compared to like your wooden kitchen spoon. Okay, we're gonna call that good. That's super saturation. So this we'll give out this to next class, and everyone can take home their portion. Thought would have made a lot more, but this is what it is. Okay, so that one can get covered and labeled too as super saturated flowering. All right, let's do these last ones. I'll get the show on the road. FPJ.
The rock's so porous. It's like, yeah.
Sucking it up. Nice.
So if my jar of mine and foam smells like alcohol, it's not good.
If it smells like alcohol, like just a little bit, that's when you harvest it.
Oh,
you know?
really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go check it.
Yeah. So this one we're really gonna have to let this one sit as we do more stuff because.
Let the stick through.
Yeah, and we can just go ahead and dump the other bucket in too, and we'll let them both just sit here with the stick on it. Stick's right by your foot.
you made any other FPJ, like veg FPJ that you would recommend?
What do I like to use? Comfrey I love. Cannabis leaves.
Aloe?
The aloe is a really good one.
Wow. The stabilizer.
Aloe has lots of silica in it, lots of plant blood, you know, all that juice comes off of it, so it's a real high yielder. That would have been a good one to make at class because we could have took more to give the students to bring home. Didn't really think about that one.
I
But
know where we could get some.
aloe.
I wonder where it is.
See, that's what I mean, like aloe's abundant too, like it's like. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let this one sit while we go to the next part of class. Because new soil, new volcanic activity lacks calcium, right? Yes. Calcium comes from like old ocean floor bottoms, from old shale, old limestone, you know? These are the places we get calcium from in nature. Does Hawaii have limestone? No. We have brand new lava rock, not really heavy in calcium. So this calcium recipe is really good for us here in Hawaii. So, and we have the ocean that's abundant in calcium, right? Right. So we have sources to get the calcium from, which is awesome. But we have to.
That powdered coral, is that what?
Yep. So, but we have to mine it. So today we're gonna do some calcium mining of our own, you know. But before we do that, if we could have some of the boys bring up, or ladies bring up the FAA buckets. And we'll just place them here and discuss that. And then if we can move these ones to the side. And this FPJ is still dripping away over here. And we'll leave that for a while. We'll just go ahead. Yeah, we can leave that one there. We can just go ahead and put these out here. Is that what we got? 3 of them? Okay. That's all of them? Okay, so I think a few people might have took some home the other day.
I did, yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you guys check on them? And what?
On the Hana Hana you're talking about?
A little bit of the fish was
I
showing
didn't
out,
take any of that.
popping out, and it smelled
Pretty good? Nice. Nice. Any other reports?
Yeah, I had to cap it a little bit.
Mhm.
Had a little bit less too, but really close to 2/3. It smells. Where it's at. It smells
But
fishy.
it's not bad. It's not
But it's not.
Okay.
It's alright.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Any other anecdotals from the? No? Okay, so our anecdotal from the farm is we came yesterday. I think the boys had already checked it a day after to put a rock on it, I believe, and to re-sugar cap it, because usually you gotta add more sugar is usually the case, you know. I came yesterday, and the first thing I noticed when I walked into the room where these were being fermented was what some of you may have noticed here today, and it's these guys. You see those guys? So already I have a visual indicator that something's rotting, right? Because there's no flies on the FPJ, right? So what did Master Cho say? You want maggots? Then make an environment for maggots. You want weeds? Then make an environment for weeds. Go for it, you know? So don't blame the fly. Who do we blame? Just ourselves, you know? Right. Okay. So that was the first indicator to me that something was lacking sugar, guaranteed. So I was like, well, we're gonna cap these no matter what. You know, I already knew it before I even took the lids off. We took the lids off. I put my face in it, and it smelled. Again, not offensive like rot, but pretty much like fresh fish guts, you know? So it's telling us that it's not rotting. That's a great thing, you know? If it was any offensiveness at all, I'd sugar cap it again. If I see flies swarming around it, I'll sugar cap it again, you know? This one's a little unorthodox that it was a fish head. So we got a lot of fins and kind of things sticking out. That could lead to things that aren't good, you know? So really at this point with these two, ideally I'd have a larger vessel and I could combine them at this point because I'm running out of space to add more sugar here. Maybe we overfilled them slightly in the beginning. Maybe we didn't put enough sugar slightly in the beginning. So this is why it's so great that we're doing this intensive course, because you guys get to witness these things. You get to witness not what I'd call a mistake, but witness us learning together, you know? And usually FAA is gonna get more sugar put on it. So in hindsight, what I would have done, and as a teacher, I should have told you guys to write it maybe a little under 2/3. If I recall, I told us to put it a little over 2/3 because I figured some would sink down, not taking into account needing to sugar cap it 2 or 3 more times throughout its process. So that's where as a teacher I made a slight mistake, or if you want to call it that, or just what we can witness together. Maybe it's a valuable lesson, not a mistake, you know? So what I would do now is I'd probably get one of these. They make these in like a 10-gallon and or a 15-gallon, and I would combine these two together, re-sugar cap it, okay? And that's probably what we should end up doing with this to make sure that these are in the right situation. And I'm not gonna really even sugar cap them today again because they're already too full. We already got them over 2/3 of sugar. So as a natural farmer and a KNF practitioner, my mind would go to I need a bigger bucket to continue this process. And that's what we're gonna do. You can see the flies are starting to swarm a little now. Yep. Because we opened these up and made them available.
Where do you find those big rubber bands?
They got them at Ace Hardware in the fishing section.
Oh, that's nice.
Exactly what I
They sell them at office bags too. They're not as thick, but
Yeah, probably a better, you get a bigger.
They're not as big.
Model airplane. Look at that. What is that for? Like keeping the bacon?
There's more.
Yeah. Or like the outriggers. You have an outrigger, you like fit all in the same area so it doesn't get tangled. Yeah, so it can like break away. Gotcha. Some guys put like a knife and curly on there and hang it off the ground. That way when fish gets it.
Okay, so in Hawaii we're super blessed because we have ocean fish. Ocean fish are the #1 fish to use. Even better mid-range ocean fish like opelu, mackerel, blue back fish is how Master Cho explains it. Fatty fish, ocean fish are the ones that we're going for. You can make a reef fish if you happen to catch them or whatever the case may be, but not smart to just go kill reef fish to make FAA. You're not gonna make the best FAA. This one is a little more at the target we want. It's at 1/3. I kind of got like a sweet ocean smell in here, kind of more on the sweeter. You can smell the sugar a little more, where in these ones is way more fishy. And this one's pretty much where we want it. The flies aren't as attracted to it, which is a good sign. And the smell's proper. It's in the right bucket, making it that much more why it would be succeeding at this point. And it has the right ratios. So this one at this point I'd check it 1 or 2 more times just to make sure. If it needed a little more sugar, I might cap it 1 more time, but it's pretty much ready to set and forget. And then I'll come back to this in 3 months if I'm out of FAA and start using that FAA. If I have older buckets of FAA, I'll let this ride for another 6 months to a year or longer, as long as I have other FAA to use. So yeah, good lesson showing some stuff that we kind of need to correct, and showing one that's pretty much perfect. Any questions about FAA?
Yeah, the flies are on it even more now.
Yeah, because we exposed it and we showed them where their goodies are, you know? Yeah. So we'll correct that by just adding more sugar and getting it in the proper size vessel. No need to worry. There's choke sugar on there, lots of sugar on there. Everything's irie. There's no maggots on there. There's no signs of planted fly, like you see those little brown things where the maggots come out of and stuff. Like there's none of those guys on there, so we're looking really good, you know. We just need to correct this within the next day or two to get it set in the right direction. And again, 1 to 1,000 FAA is your nitrogen, your N. On your NPK, this is your nitrogen. Replace all N with this. You don't have to buy any more N from the store. You can get it from the ocean, from your friends. And again, we're honoring the animal. We're not, I didn't kill these animals. You can if you want to, but I personally don't kill these animals. I just honor their carcasses instead of wasting them away. I mean, of course, microbes are going to eat them, and the plants around where you dumped them will benefit. But we're taking these products and alchemically changing them into solutions we can now carry around our farm in our tool belt, and they have storability. So we're capturing the essence of that fish, all the elements that were in those bones, the calcium, the nitrogen, the plant blood, or the fish blood. You know, they sell fish powder, blood meal at the stores, you know, but we just harvested all this blood meal from our friends in the ocean, you know, and now it's here, and we can ferment it and have it in a vessel that we can carry with us. So that's how I look at some of these Korean natural farming, is like, yeah, of course, like you could make compost piles and this and that and throw bananas on it and let it break down and ferment under the tree. Or you can make that same ferment in a little vessel that we can carry in our pocket around our farm. Like you know, we're like earth wizards, you know, we got these formulas, you know. So now even think back, like what's a wizard? You know, like think back to a wizard. They had potions and a hat, beard, you know.
Alchemist.
Right.
That's true. 2020 alchemist.
Right. So we're just wizarding, you know, our way through life and participating in nature, you know, instead of trying to be something outside of it. We're just plugging ourselves right into the web, tapping back in to all that infinite potential of God and nature, you know. FAA, any more questions about FAA? Everybody getting hungry? Break for lunch here in a minute?
Have you ever had like outside liquid get into it?
So if water gets into any of these, it has potential to spoil.
Yeah, just like honey.
Right, and just like the thinning out of something. Now it's changing the alchemy. You're right. So if rain.
Anything to it?
Well, IMO4 can be added to FAA. It can also be added to the OHN because we bought those from a store. So they're lacking, they probably were dipped in bleach, like the garlic and the ginger. So it's lacking surface microbes that you would get in the wild. So in order to restore some of those, we could sprinkle in some IMO4. And same thing with the FAA. If you feel like, okay, I got so much freaking sugar in there, I don't want to put no more sugar in there, but it's still kind of stinky, IMO4 sprinkle on top, you know. So yeah, like oversaturating it with sugar to the point that like no activities happening is not a good thing either, you know what I mean? Another thing with FAA and that saturation of sugar is if you caught a fish, or whoever's eating it cuts off the fillets, boom, at the same time this goes into the bucket with sugar. It's going to make a better FAA than if you drove those things around for 24 hours, unrefrigerated. Because why? There's already a whole set of rotting microbes attached to that carcass. So now you're going to have to balance those out with that sugar. It's going to take way longer for the good guys to figure out what to do, as opposed to that fresh fish right out of the ocean, bam, 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 no rot microbes ever attached to it, you know? So you'll have more trouble establishing equilibrium if the fish has been sitting out. And not a bad member of the story I told last week about I tried to make one in a bucket like this where I couldn't seal the edges, so maggots kept getting in it. But sure enough, a few sugar caps later, there was no maggots coming around, and that's some of the nicest FAA that I got on my farm right now. So So it's about establishing that right ratio and balance to deal with what microbes, and every environment's going to be slightly different. That's why we follow the recipes, but pay attention, because the climate in Arizona is different than the climate in Hawaii. The climate on Mauna Kea is different than the climate in Hilo. The climate at Alex's house is way different than the climate at my house, you know? So all these things are going to have slight different variations of lengths of time and whatnot. So when we get back from lunch, we're going to fire up the barbecue grill and char a bunch of these bones. And we're going to talk about WCP, Water-soluble Calcium Phosphate. And then we're also going to fire up these burners and some frying pans, and we're going to fry up some, or basically we're going to toast some coral. Actually, I didn't bring any coral. I bought oyster shell and crab shell. So we're gonna toast these two things and extract calcium from them. And the added benefit we'll talk more about after lunch. The crab meal has something called chitin that we can extract from it also, which is beneficial to your agricultural system, because all cell walls are made of chitin. So you want your plant to be strong and your cell wall to be vigorous. We're going to make water-soluble chitin today. Also contains choke calcium in the shell. So this can be collected, we'll talk about more after lunch, but this can be collected from your local beaches. One day I went and just got every single of those dried up a'as, right? Dried up red a'as all along. You know, you go to a place where no one's been for a while, you know, I went down to Pebble Beach and just walked the coastline and just collected. You know, in the end, maybe it was just a handful of powder, but it felt cool to make your own right from the beach, you know. But they do have this, it's just called crustacean meal. Very cheap from an agricultural store as well. But we'll talk more about that after lunch. Any questions before we break for lunch? All right, we're gonna get started again right about now. We're prepping for WCA and WCP. And I'll just turn these down while I talk real quick about those two inputs. We'll try to move through these ones and just make them and not talk too much theory. But behind me here I got some frying pans. And for the calcium, the WCA, water-soluble calcium, the most popular recipe taught in KNF is with eggshells, being that it's closed loop system for a self-sustainable farm type setting. So a lot of people in those situations have chickens and would be having eggs to make this out of. We are in Hawaii. We're gonna mine calcium from animal shells, like as in oyster shells, coral, crab shell, etc. So on this frying pan over here, I'm just gonna get some crab shell started. And all these are gonna put off like some kind of offensive odors, like they're not too pleasant, you know. So try to stand downwind or upwind from them. And so with the eggshells, it's really important that you toast them. You want to get them golden brown like a marshmallow is kind of how Master Cho explains it. For what we're using today we're using oyster shell and crab shell. So in our case, we're starting with a dry product already, so there's not a lot of moisture in there. But there's a few reasons that you toast it, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. Just want to make sure all my settings are pretty decent here. Not too hot. I don't want to burn a bunch of stuff. We'll start with them low just to see how they react. But so basically what we're going to do is just man these little stations for a minute and toast up these products. Now if there's moisture in it, you'll see it get moist and then kind of sweat out and dry. And we want it to be nice and bone dry when we go to make our WCA. So that's what we're talking about right now, WCA, water-soluble calcium. So number one, removing moisture. Number two, we want to toast it to the point where we've removed as much organic matter as we can through the toasting process or the burning process, right? So again, we're participating in alchemy. These are alchemical principles, you know. There's a third reason too that we do the toasting, and this is really apparent when we make the WCP. We're going to char the bones, but here we're going to toast this, and in the bones it's called a pyrophosphate is what we're trying to extract out of the bones. So in this it's similar. By toasting it, we're actually activating certain elements of it and making certain elements of it extractable. So I'm not 100% on all the science behind that, but I do understand that the charring, the toasting is unlocking potential and also giving us different forms of the target elements. So in the case of the phosphorus in the bones, it's called a pyrophosphate, and that's actually the target phosphorus that we're going to extract from that product. And so this is a lot easier than the eggshell, being that the eggshell you really want to get it to a perfect toast, and you got to kind of winnow off some of those inner linings, that organic matter. But these have all been already dried, crushed, and kind of you know, being that I didn't grab this from the beach and I had it from a store, it's already kind of gone through a cleaning process. A little bit easier to deal with. If we were to grab shells from the beach or lobster or crab that maybe a fisherman ate or somebody harvested themselves from nature, you could crush it, kind of dry it, crush it, and then when you're toasting it like this, you could winnow off that inner lining, kind of that same as like an egg would have, comes inside the crab shells and lobster shells. You'd kind of want to get rid of that. And in particular, this crab shell recipe, not only are you getting the calcium, there's actually phosphorus actually in crab shell too. So you are getting some phosphorus as well, and then the target component is that chitin. So really cool, another KNF recipe. But what's cool about this one is you'll see it go from this pale color to, it'll start to get more bright red. Some pinks will come out as it toasts, and then it'll go to like some brown colors once it starts toasting. And it kind of puts off an odor too, that if you never smelt it might not smell so good. But I'm going to turn up the heat on this one a little bit. Make sure. Yeah, just because you're, yeah, you know, kind of like if you were to like steam a crab and it turns all red and stuff. There you go. So I can already see like some of it powdering up a lot more than the original stuff I put in there that had some moisture in it. So I'm getting rid of that moisture. And you know, you could do this in smaller ratios. I'm trying to just get as much done as we can while we're here together making these inputs, so we can all take some home. Sometimes I'll do it in like a larger, you know, like a soup stock kind of pan, like one of those metal ones, and you can give it that kind of shake. You don't have to stir it as much. I kind of pick it up and I shake it like that, and then I'll put it back on the burner. And that's another way to do it. So, and you could do a lot more volume that way because you could contain a lot more in one vessel. And I'm just gonna kind of work these for a little while here. It might take about anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes to get it where I want it. And this one's getting more powdery. I can see the moisture leaving its body. And then what we're going to do when we got this to the state we want it is we're going to put it 1:10 ratio with what in Korean natural farming we get taught to use brown rice vinegar. or any grain vinegar will work, or any fruit vinegar will work. If you can't get BRV or rice vinegar, you can get apple cider vinegar for fairly cheap, or you can make apple cider vinegar for fairly cheap. After we're done here and done with the bones, we're going to make some fruit vinegar out of our leftover banana FPJ material. So banana vinegar is really easy to make. It seems that the banana has a really good reaction with the yeast and whatnot in the air, and makes a really good vinegar. And we'll talk about vinegar too, I guess, as these roast up, because that would be the ninth input we haven't talked about yet, BRV or vinegar. So while I'm talking about it, I'll just continue doing so. Ola's over here getting the fire ready. And what are you up to? You burning some of that?
Yeah.
Some of the fish?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. Make sure we just get a nice bed of nice hot charcoals for when we move up there for the presentation. But so anyway, we'll talk about vinegar, because we're going to use that to extract the calcium and the phosphate from these products that we're toasting and burning here. So fruit vinegar, I thought it was interesting again to grab one of these bottles and just kind of read what another company has to say. You know, I was looking at this the other day, and it says organic apple cider vinegar is made from fresh pressed organic U.S. apples, fermented with no added yeast or enzymes, and never from concentrate. So it's telling you, when I read that, it tells me that it's chock full of yeast and enzymes, because they didn't have to add any. That means they had some high grade ones when they made it, you know what I'm saying? So there's one tell, you know. This process produces a premium raw vinegar with live cultures known as the mother. Use organic apple cider vinegar for baking, dressing salads, yada yada yada. Right? So it's alive, it told me too, that it hasn't been pasteurized, you know. That's good for making these, but it's also better when you use that live vinegar as that vinegar input itself, you know. For making the WCA and WCP, some people prefer pasteurized vinegar, being that if you're going to store it for a long period of time, it might form a SCOBY, and it's still going to be active. So if you want it just non-active and just to use the vinegar, you just use the vinegar straight. You can use the cooked vinegar or the store-bought vinegar, like a rice vinegar, etc. Or you can boil this real quick. I never really do that. I just kind of make the batch to use it. If you wanted to make WCA and WCP for human consumption, you can do so. And if that's the case, you want to use like a really good organic apple cider vinegar, or for long-term storage, like an organic rice vinegar. And make sure if you're ever going to buy vinegar to use, just look on the back and make sure it's only vinegar. No added sugar, not seasoned, not flavored, not salted, etc. So these guys are getting pretty good. Starting to toast up a little bit. Kick these guys up a notch just to get this process going along here. Nice, this one's getting toasty. Getting a little toast on the bottom. These don't really change color that much. I'm just really trying to, my indicator for this is that I got all the moisture out and I just got powder. Yeah.
It's possible your WCA could form a SCOBY.
Yep. So your WCA and WCP in storage could form a SCOBY, and it'll keep like vinegaring up in there. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's just undesirable. You might have chunks that could get into like your, you know, watering system if you're irrigating, or you know, something like that. You know. So that would be the time Like there was one, like a KNF teacher saying to pasteurize the vinegar before you use it to avoid that. You know what I mean? If you're using live fruit vinegar. But I've never done that in my life. I've just make it and kind of use it. Make it again, use it, you know. Well, I mean, sometimes I'll come out and there'll be a SCOBY on there, you know, but I'll just scoot it to the side and pour it off. But usually like I'll use it before one is even on there, you know. Nice, this is getting pretty close too. And maybe what I'll do today just to move things along is I'm just gonna make these pans, and then as a farm here, we'll get back together and make the rest of this so we have enough to give out. But today, just to move along, I'll just make enough to show you a sample in this thing right here of each one of these. Yeah. As long as we just need a nice big bed of coals. That's all we're looking for from you guys. Yeah. Yeah. Just in the blender, the air. Are you saying the air pushes it up?
No, like when you blend it.
Oh, when you pour it in.
That film on the inside of the shell still dries.
So you can scrape it off the top.
Yeah, you can just keep pouring it off.
After, okay. Nice. Wow. Cool. A little easy way. Yeah. Yeah, that's usually how they teach is either to dry the eggshell on your counter and actually scrape that out before you use them. Yep. That's how how Master Cho teaches. Drake teaches like to put the eggshell direct in here and then kind of blow on it as you stir it, and just from your air it will kind of blow that stuff off. And Brethren Josh just said that he blended all his up and then it kind of floated to the top as he made it, and you scraped it off and kept going. So cool. Those are all good tips.
So obviously it's not ideal, but what can you use like the treated mainland eggs to cut like most eggs?
Yeah, so back to the alchemy of it all, you know, like what are we doing here, you know? Like what's really going down with this recipe, you know? It's that we're putting a calcium rich source into a weak acid to get the alchemical reaction of extracting and water solubilizing that calcium into weak acid, in our case vinegar. So the alchemy is still there, right? In that store, because that chicken still created a calcium rich shell around that thing, even though it was malnourished, half dead, and all these kind of treated like it doesn't matter. All these things happened to that animal, but it still produced this calcium rich shell. Is that calcium rich shell as calcium rich as one produced right here? I guarantee it's not, but you could still use it, you know, and it still has a lot of calcium in there to unlock alchemically.
I just thought that sprayed the actual eggs.
I'm sure they put bleach on them or something crazy, you know. That's why this toasting process would come into play, you know. So I'm gonna kind of just keep it moving here. I think these are right about where I would want them. This one, I don't know, is this thing even on? Yeah. This one's starting to darken up a bit. It's not getting like that bright color that sometimes comes out of the crab shell, but it's definitely toasting. It's actually turning brown already. Okay. So I'm gonna move the process along because you guys will see, you'll witness it no matter how charred or dry this is, you're gonna witness the calcium being dissolved into the weak acid. So ideally you let this cool a little bit, but then I was even thinking the other day, like, okay, I want to pasteurize that vinegar. Like I could just pour it in these hot, you know, and it'd kind of do it all at one time, kind of kill off some of it, but that was just kind of a thought that I had. Oh, there's a bunch of moisture in there. Okay. Okay, so ideally you don't have any water in your vessel, but we'll let that cool off for a second. What's that?
Are you going to put it back on now?
What?
There is water in there?
No, I'm just gonna keep moving forward. It's all good. It just might. The only downfall of that is that it could, you know, it can get funky. Like if your WCA is sitting for like 7, 10, 15, 20 days, 30 days, and there's some organic matter or moisture in there, might smell a funk starting to build up in there, you know, and that's when you probably wouldn't want to use it, you know. So best practice is just to follow those directions. But and again, if you're going to use it soon, then there really is not too big of an issue, you know. So with WCA, it's 1 to 10 ratio. So I'm going to just let this cool down a little bit more. I'm just kind of moving them around to cool it off. And so you can measure that, or you can eyeball that. You know, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I mean, if I fill it up to there, that's about 1 to 10 already, but I'm not going to fill it up that high. It's okay to have a little bit of extra eggshell or calcium source. Not a problem. We'll let this one finish off. If anybody wants to come up and can just pour some vinegar in here. They're still really warm, but and so you can instantly see the reaction. Let's pour that one more in there and then we'll hold off for a second. And so the opposite of pouring the calcium source into the vinegar is a no-no. You'll get an instant overflow. So this one is probably going to overflow too, or maybe not. But basically what we're witnessing here, what this foam is and this reaction is actually, like all these bubbles, is the actual calcium dissolving into solution. That's what that is. That's what those bubbles are. It's the release of calcium into solution, into the weak acid. That one fell really quick. If you guys want, you can pour them in. Yeah. You just gotta kind of tease it so you don't overflow with bubbles, you know?
How do you get these off? You just pop it out.
It takes a little angle in the dangle. So just to go over calcium sources again, KNF Master Cho teaches eggshells. Why? Because it's a closed loop system on a self-sufficient farm. Second source, my favorite, used to be this $5 bag of dredged coral sand that Kauai High Harbor. They would dredge it out, they would rinse it, and you could buy it $5 for this thing that you could get like hundreds of gallons of water-soluble calcium out of this $5 bag. Well, they don't make that anymore. No, and I didn't really know till I tried to buy it for this class. And
what do they do with it? I mean, well, they only sell it while they're dredging.
Right.
So like the project's done.
Exactly. The byproduct is no longer available. Nice. So let's stop at that bottle after you're done. So we're not necessarily fermenting in here, and I can't recall exactly what the recipe says, but the 1/3 space won't be as critical because there's not like that microbial air exchange fermentation thing going on. So what I consider this is an extract. So we had a ferment we did on day 1. Now we're talking about extractions, you know. The OHN is a tincture. we're extracting calcium out of source and putting it into solution, making it water soluble. And so what's cool about this too, it is water soluble. So it's truly can go directly, the microbe can just suck it right up and spit it right out into the root zone. And even some of the roots can suck it up without a microbe being involved, from what I understand. Okay, so we'll turn this one off, the chitin. And I guess we could just make a few jars of this just to show you guys the chitin. And again, we'll, as a farm here, we'll make sure to make a bunch of this for everybody to take home and use up all this vinegar, but time kind of caught up with us on that first half of the day.
What do you see as like calcium deficiency?
Calcium deficiency? Good question. You know, anything deficient showing yellowing, showing weakness. You know, calcium helps with structure, you know. Calcium is used in KNF for fruit set, you know, so if you want to up your fruit production, add calcium, you know. Deficiency, not quite sure what to tell you exactly. I wouldn't be able to give you a definitive answer of what you're looking for, but as far as the benefits of more production of fruit flour, also a sweetener of a sort. Calcium helps carry other nutrients up and down through the cell walls, you know. Calcium, yeah, it's a really critical agricultural element that's responsible for a lot of things and is missing from new lands, new soils, you know. I think, what does Drake call the calcium? The reproduction. So if you're thinking, oh, I want my plant to reproduce a lot, that's when you hit it with the calcium. If we were looking at that chart, the calcium comes towards the end, like right after crossover into flower, into finish, you know. It also, soil foundation, I believe, gets some WCA as well. And can always be used, you know. So this is a little more than 1 to 10. That's fine as well. And I'll show you. Maybe I'll use, no, I won't use that. I'll just use the ACV again.
What does it do for healing?
So for calcium in the body, you know, that's like strengthen your nails and your hair, you know. Structure, you know, your bones require calcium. Anything to add to that? Calcium in the body, I mean, yeah, it's anything it would do for a plant would do for a human. Teeth, skeletal, yeah. Carrier of other, you know, elements.
Helps release hormones at the right time.
A regulator of sorts. Right, that's like what they always told us. They lied to us and told us to drink our milk for calcium, but it actually leaches calcium from your bones. Sly guys. Those slithery guys.
That's still the hard thing.
Make enough commercials about something, people will believe anything. Like, don't go to Auntie's house. Whatever you do. Cool, so you guys can check that out. And it's just kind of like teasing it along, because if I pour too much at once, it'll just... Look at all that reaction going on in there.
Yeah. Would you stir the other one?
So yeah, you could give it a stir. And so what you're going to do, good question, because what you're going to do is every day for the next about 7 to 10 days is you're going to come out here and give this a stir and kind of expose more of it to get into solution. Look at that. Whoa, watch out. Oh no, overflow. Sometimes I'll do that old beer trick. You guys know that one, yeah?
You stick the spoon in there?
Oh, with the oil of your nose.
Yeah. Or even just sometimes touching it with the metal. We'll do it too. This guy's creeping up over here too. It's alive! Yeah, so what that is, you know, that's the calcium. That's the reaction we're watching. Calcium is being extracted. So when we do the bone char, which we're going to do here in a minute, we're not going to see that same type of reaction. But whoa, that's crazy. Keep in mind it's WCP, so it's water-soluble calcium phosphate. So we will see some bubbles, right? Because we'll see that calcium go into solution. Wow, this thing got a mind of its own over here. Awesome. How are we looking up there, Ola?
Eggs. Show good.
Okay, cool. We can actually, we'll do it right after this. We'll all walk over here and we'll start charring some bones, and we could just have a couple of the brethren or sister and watch those as we go finish off the day at the IMO 3 pile and make this fruit vinegar. Just kind of keep it rolling. But let's make sure we at least finish off this job first. So yeah, just and again a recap. This is definitely an advanced level KNF course. So most of the students here, when I'm jumping around, are keeping up with me, and I understand if you weren't exposed on some kind of level 2, 3 advanced, like you're not keeping up with all this lingo and jumping around. Not so good for an entry level KNF to just, here, now we're making fruit vinegar. Now we're making WCP. Oh, there's the FPJ from yesterday. You know, it might be confusing, but to the advanced level students, it's all just like perfect for them. You know, so if it's not quite clicking for you yet, just kind of hang in there. Let the lingo go around in your mind. Read some literature online, and it'll all start clicking in no time.
It's all just about redundancy. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And after a while, you'll just be accustomed to it. Those little abbreviations, right?
Just like anything new, you gotta do it. But the other thing with this class was I wanted to make sure we make all these so you guys can have them to go witness for yourself. That's something that maybe you used to fertilize with this crumble or with this bottled product. You could replace it with this, or maybe a tree that you never fertilized before. And it hasn't been so healthy and producing. You try to throw some of these nutrients on it and see what it does for you, and see if it starts to flower when it never did before, or starts to fruit, or maybe spring out new growth from the bottom or something, and just kind of witness these miracles happen with some of these inputs. So right here you're seeing the reaction of me adding too much too quickly, and you're just going to lose a little of your vinegar that way. Any questions on WCA? We all pretty much clicked in on what this whole process is, what we're doing here. Cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is move to the WCP. We'll let these reactions finish off here, and then what we're gonna do is cover these with a breathable lid. Again, there's no reason to seal the lids on these. You can come out and, like on these jars in particular, have that loose lid and then just seal it, shake it, unseal it, and that's what you did. That's how you mixed it for the day. Because you're going to want to mix these once a day for that 7 to 10 day. I've been told several things that I've never witnessed myself. I've been told that when you see it stop releasing bubbles is when you know you're super saturated with calcium. I've never witnessed that in my life. But that's what I was told by all my teachers in KNF, that you know that you've reached saturation when no more bubbles come out of here. But it always just bubbles, you know? So I'm not too sure about that part. But anyway, you can strain it to store it, or you can, what I do is I just leave it. So I'll let it just keep bubbling, and then I'll just come and scoop off the top or pour some in that I need, you know? Because eventually all this will settle down to the bottom, and this will kind of be a clear solution anyway, you know? And then, I mean, if you want to strain it further, you can strain it further right before you use it even. But literally, after 7 or 10 days and you're still witnessing bubbling going on, my logical mind says to just leave the calcium source in there and just let it keep reacting and pull it off as I need to use it. But the book says to strain it and store it, okay? So we're clear on all that.
Probably be the calcium source, right? Because they're using eggs and you're using
that could be 100% it.
More calcium source.
That the oyster or this is made out of pretty much like what 90 or more % calcium in its structure. You know, these are just numbers that I'm shooting out, but and then the eggshell might be less, like 30% or 40% calcium. I don't know, these numbers are fact, but that's what Ola's kind of pointing out. Maybe that's why you see the crab shell stop bubbling, but not, or excuse me, the eggshell stop bubbling, but not these sources necessarily. Yeah.
The freshly dredged.
Right, the coral, right.
Coral, 5-10 years.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's a great addition. So we got this. These are plenty of bones if someone wants to carry this box over, and we'll talk about WCP up here, and keep the show rolling. All right, just kind of let that burn off a little bit for a second. So with the WCP, let's see, let me get in a good spot here. Try to stand downwind of this, or upwind, I mean, upwind. So, what we're doing today is the barbecue grill technique. Not my favorite tech, but it's for mass production, like I was trying to aim for this class. This was our best bet with the big surface area and whatnot. But usually I do it in rocket cans, being those charcoal starting rocket cans that they sell at Ace Hardware, and you can buy 2 of them, and you can kind of bend the bottom of one of them so it slides into the other one. And then you can set up your charcoals on the bottom, and it kind of shoots this heat up through, and you can put your bone in there. And that's a good way to do it. So, but this is a good way too. I just did it the other day. Did we have some tongs? Barbecue tongs? So what we'll do is I'll pick out some of these that are kind of the same look in here, same thickness, so they all kind of char at the same time. And once again, you know, a lot of vegans will come and kind of try to give KNF guys a hard time and stuff. And you know what I just got to tell them is you know, this animal died, you know what I mean, and it left these gifts, you know. These gifts were just on the earth. Microbes were eating them. Plants were mining them. And like this is the remains of what was once an alive being, you know. And it left behind all this resource and material. So to me personally, I feel we're honoring the animal by finishing some crucial cycles, you know, and bringing it back into relevance to even the human being, you know, utilizing these resources and not having to rely on a store or anything, and just being able to walk through nature and find things that are valuable to us, you know? You couldn't sell this for anything, but you could sell the WCP for a lot, you know? So these are kind of things we got to pay attention to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these on this nice hot charcoal surface, and we're just got to monitor these, and we got to flip them, and we're going to char them. And basically, by the end, we want them to have a nice black, glassy look to them. That's our end result, is this black, glassy look. Once it goes past that, it goes into kind of a dull black and then into a white ash. We're not looking for the white ash. We want the glassy black to dull black is what we want. And when we pull these off, I'll show you, but they're gonna sound kind of like, you know, it's gonna have a crispiness to them. Okay, so I'll get a good amount on there so we can at least make a good batch here together. As far as bones go, Master Cho says fish bone is best. We have some fish bone here that's starting to get charred, and fish bone is best. Land mammal is second best. So goat, pig, cow, all are acceptable. He said avoid and don't use bird bones. Okay.
These beds, that's calcium source.
Something going on with the birds. I don't know.
They're made to fly up, so
Yes,
their bones are less dense.
Yes,
Lots of holes in their bones.
Yeah.
Might have a different reaction or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we'll do is we'll just leave these on here for a minute. It's probably a good amount. And yeah, so good, oh, here we go. So this is that rocket can tech right here. So we have one rocket can like that, and then you can go over, so you can put the charcoals down here and put the bones up here. So that's another technique. And these they don't smell good as they start roasting, so you want to kind of be, yeah, they're starting to do their thing. But we'll let those burn for a minute. But he brought up biochar. So if you read Master Cho's original literature, it alludes to, I can't remember exactly how it's written, but when you read it, to me when I'm reading it, it sounds like you make biochar with the bones.
Yeah.
You know? No KNF teacher that I've learned from has said to do that. And even when I took a class with Master Cho, and we were all on the breakout sessions to do what we're doing right now, he walked around and watched us make it on a barbecue just like this, and said nothing bad or good or anything about it. He just like looked and said, "Oh yeah, you guys are doing it," you know. So, you know, make of it what you will. Just check on these bad boys. They're just starting to char up a little bit. Remember, we had a KNF class when we made them in the rocket cans already over at the Institute, and that went really well. And we made WCP at the Institute already successfully. And the other one is the fish bone. There's another technique that I love to do with the fish bones, being that sometimes they're small and not handleable. You can get a metal bowl, like a stainless steel bowl. Thank you. Awesome. Perfect. A stainless steel bowl, and stick it down in the coals, and then just stick the loose fish bones in that bowl. And you just leave them like that, and you just kind of stir them, and they make perfect char. And it's like this conduction kind of heat instead of the convection heat, you know? So yeah, you know, there's all kind of science involved. There's no science involved, you know? It depends on how your mind works, you know what I mean? It's just like truth is truth, you know?
Smells like gelatin.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Burning bones.
Gummies and burned them on the burner before.
Yeah. And where's gelatin come from?
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
So those are gonna take a minute. They're just starting to get going. Any questions about WCP?
What do you think about how Ola, he takes his fa'a bones after he strains them and then cooks them? What do you think about that?
That's perfect. That's exactly what we should be doing. Yep. Yep. 100%.
So if you can't find any bones as usual.
If it was still the beginning of the day, I mean, we could burn off all these bones. We could burn off these fish bones, and then make a huge vat of WCP with all that vinegar. But the day ran up on us real fast here, so we're gonna make sure you guys get the full download, and we're gonna move forward.
It'll be part of art class.
It'll be part of art class.
The art of charring bones.
The art of the stink.
Look at that, man.
So they're starting to char a little bit. Whoa.
Has that color, right?
See that there? And you do it, I mean, you're not really going for the marrow or anything. You kind of, you know, better to burn out the marrow, but if it's just charred marrow in there, you still make it, you know? But marrow's not a biggie. So what we could do is you want to have someone man this and go ahead and move over to IMO3 pile?
Yeah.
Ola, you want to keep it?
Yeah.
So Ola's just gonna, what he's gonna do is just kind of watch these bones, and he's gonna keep turning them as they char. So he's just gonna keep rotating, making sure not one side gets too burnt, you know? Making sure one side doesn't start charring to white. Charring to white, we kind of lost it, you know? If some white makes its way into the vinegar, that's fine too. It's not a big deal. And what I mean by white is it goes to ash after it burns for a little while. And a little bit's fine, but we don't want a lot. So what we'll do is we'll let him keep working on that, and we'll come back to it in about 15 minutes after we go check on, remember we did IMO 1, 2, and 3 last class? We're gonna go check on the IMO 3 pile and see how the progress is on that. Very crucial part of KNF, so this is a fun part, and I want you guys to pay attention. And okay, so the IMO 3 pile is coming along really nice. So we checked it, we've been checking it the last couple days. We flipped it within 24 hours. I think it's been flipped twice or 3 times by now. And what we'll do is when we come out to our IMO pile, we check the thermometer. Right now we're riding at about 115, 120, right? Oh yeah, nice. This one's showing a tiny over, but you said this one was off a little bit.
I mean,
so we're at 120 right now, then you could say. Yeah, because this one's showing, oh no, that one's showing a little bit different. So we're at about 120 right now, where we want it to be. We come out here, we take off our mulch cover. We unbury the goodies. And what I want everyone to do is come closer, please, and kind of witness what's going on here. So, number one, we got chunks of mycelium laden IMO substrate.
Oh wow.
Okay. You can smell, what do you smell? That smell is the microbe we want. So that baked bread smell,
Yeah.
you know, take a little of that and pass it around. Feel the warmth of it.
Whoa.
Actually, everyone can come over here and just stick your hand in here. and smell it and feel it.
Oh, it's warm.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
it smells like bread.
Smells like bread, right? That smell is the target microbe. Or it's actually not the target microbe, it's the indicator microbe that we're on the right track, is what it is, to be more exact.
That's 120.
Wow. So at this point and many points after, because we're gonna make IMO4, you could stick your feet in it to cure athlete's foot. You could bury yourself in it if you had eczema, or just for a nice sauna bath microbial inoculation. You could start doing that now, but even better on IMO4. So what I would do is come out to this. Technically you could leave it, but we're gonna flip it just to show you guys the process. If it was riding like at 140 or something, we'd really want to flip it. But since it's riding at 115, 120, it's right where we want it to be. There's no really a reason to flip it right now, except for the sake of the class. See how every time we flip it, a little more of this leaf duft gets in there, a little more soil from the earth gets in there, and that's all fine, you know? We don't want excess amounts of it in there, but it's fine to get some of it. It's actually just inoculating and adding diversity to the pile as well. So we'll go ahead and give this a stir. And usually to flip it, you want as much space as it is. So you can move it, kind of just move it all the way over here, you know, and you can kind of start on one end and bring it to the opposite end. And kind of see these nice chunky, and yeah, you should see it clumping up, and look at all the moisture in the middle still. That's showing us that we got plenty more time on this pile. Yeah, so a lot of warmth down there. So even, you know, survival technique, you know. This could heat up for you if you're, you know, you can make, people made heat sources out of fermentation. Check this out. So this is the interface, right? This is the interface at the bottom of the pile with the native soil. Look at the texture. It's becoming fertile, you know. There's a lot of aggregate balls in here, you know, from the microbes working the soil in here.
And breaking it up, sort of.
Yeah, and starting to make it more fertile and more usable source that plants would love, you know. So you see that.
Wow. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
So that's like some IMO tempeh, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, the texture is so fine.
And so keeping it covered and just kind of flipping it back and forth.
Yep, and trying to ride that 120 mark. And so what you're gonna see is that it rises up 100 degrees, 110, 115, 120. If it's depending on the climate and the moisture, that you can get to 140, 150, but you don't want it to get up there. So you're checking it on a daily basis and flipping it as needed. Spreading it thin if it's too hot, piling it back up if you're not getting to 120. And then what you'll notice, and how you know that it's finishing, is that you topped out on heat. You rode it there for a couple days on 120, and then it starts working its way back down. Goes to 115, 110, 90, room temperature. And once it's back to room temperature, something else has also happened. It's gotten a lot drier. And now it's at kind of like a dry, maybe a 15% moisture, really dry, and ready to make IMO4. So these processes may seem complicated, they may seem this or that, but really like honestly they're super simple and they're actually fun, especially if you have a farm with people like that, you know, like you can make it like an IMO party or something, you know?
Basically what this feels like already.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're doing.
I just want to say something. This reminds me of in Japan they have cedar chip hot tubs for yourself to get into, and it's so hot, like 102 degrees, and you get in there like it's a hot tub, but it's a huge place of cedar chips that are warmed up.
Is that warmed up through fire?
Steam, huh?
It's amazing.
Was it on fire or was it steam?
It wasn't steam. It was just you putting the chips up to your neck.
Oh, you'd sit in the chips?
Sit in the chips and look at the
Wow.
Japanese garden out there.
Interesting.
I mean, it was really nice. But cedar chips, it reminds me of the heat.
Yeah.
Cedar chips.
Look at that. Look at the mycelium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys been flipping it a couple times?
Yeah, this is probably the fourth flip, I think.
So you did the same thing, so like a day or two, you flip it back to
Yep.
Do you want to water that at all?
No, you never put any more moisture. So you want to set that initial moisture to that right ratio. What is it, 60%? Yeah, 60%. You want to get it to that 60%.
What happens at like a place like Kombucha where it's more wet or like...
I think that's why I see more heat on my pile, because the air is moister. That was my theory. That it's going to hold moisture longer and get hotter because the moisture and humidity in the air. Where down here, where it's a drier climate, we haven't really even seen it climb over 120 yet.
This is ideal.
Pretty sweet. Yeah, I mean the only thing, you know, during the golden hour we're getting a lot of sunlight in here. Probably too much, you know. For ideal, it's only for a couple hours or 1 hour. So not a big deal at all.
And you still have that shade there.
So again, ratios 70 to 30, shade to light. And that's achieved in a covered with open air. Also, they sell 70 to 30 shade cloth for that same purpose. Again, 70 to 30, 70% coverage with this to 30% open space. So, just to finish this off, I'll pile this all up real nice. Make sure we're out of the rain here. There we go. So what I do is get it up like this in a nice mound. And what member Master Cho said, 12 to 18 inches or so. So we just want to make this mound. Since we haven't got to 120, I'm going to leave it definitely on the high side. And kind of leave it just like that. Okay. So we're going to leave it like that. This is going to bloom again. It's going to crust up with mycelium out here, and because we just exposed all this moisture, so it's going to turn into looking more like these balls here. They're going to build up again out here. That's what we get too. From flipping it, we get uniform inoculation. So, and then we'll come back with some of this. And just lightly cover the whole pile. 70-30. Let a little bit of light through. Got some lemongrass and some vetiver in here. Some leaves and some really old banana leaf. That's kind of that's the deal. Yeah. And again, you're gonna ride that till you get to that peak. The peak's gonna heat for a few days and then it's gonna come down. At the same time, it's gonna lose moisture. That's when you know you're finished, when it's not heating anymore and it goes back to room temperature. At that point, we're gonna make IMO 4 and we're gonna do that next class, next Saturday, make IMO 4. All right, any questions about IMO 3? Good to go? Okay. We'll move over here for the last demonstration of the day. Dumping all this FPJ. Remember we made the FPJ and strained it earlier? We have all the waste product in here, right? So basically all it is sugar-coated bananas, right? So it's a food source to make vinegar. And that actually is, shoot, it's about 1/3.
Yeah.
So the recipe for fruit vinegar is 1/3 FPJ left over to 2/3, or yeah, to 2/3 water with a 1/3 left on top. So we're almost at that ratio here, it'll work. So all we're gonna do is add water to this. Maybe not hot water, but I'll just wait till this cold water runs out here. Right, if you were to use warm or hot water, it'd just make it go that much faster. So we're gonna add water, and then actually to kick it off, Derek, if you wanna grab a bottle of that ACV over there, apple cider vinegar. So remember we were reading about the apple cider vinegar and it said it's with the mother and that it was alive? Well, we're gonna use that as an inoculation just to attract those same microbes and those same family of yeast and microbes to this situation here to make a good fruit vinegar. All those microbes are in the air though. They're all present, we breathe them in every day. They live with us, they're on our bed. Just one bottle. And yeah, you know. So we gotta give thanks to the microbes and honor the microbes, you know. You know, like one thought that I had is like intentions, you know, like people are like, oh, intentions matter a lot, you know, you're making this food and the intention behind it, you know, might make it heal someone that much more, or like you're making an OHN and, you know, but what if that intention is the microbe reading your vibration and carrying it forward, you know, so it's not necessarily something that's obscure and like not real, it's super real and super tangible. That you imbued your thoughts and ideas and feelings into actual animals, little microscopic animals, and they carried forward your thoughts, actions, and feelings into that product or that production, you know? So these are the kind of things that come into mind when you're dealing with microbes, you know? They start talking to you a little bit and they start teaching you things that maybe you didn't read in a book or you didn't hear from a master or something. And that's really when the real downloads come in, and every natural farmer can attest to that. They can attest to that. They get their best downloads out in nature, in the field, in work, in the zone, you know? And all of a sudden you're just working, picking away or harvesting, and whoa, some magnificent thought came to you about some ecological thing you could do to help Kona have clean oceans or something, you know? Or even something simple as like, oh, I could tinker that recipe to get this result, you know? You just gotta tap in and tune in to what's going on. So apple cider vinegar, we're just gonna use it as an inoculation. You don't have to do this, it just helps speed up the process. And it helps to assure that we get the right inoculant. And really, like, all you need is that much. Like, that was enough as an inoculant. Yeah, like, that's enough to set this off in the right direction, you know? But we're gonna pour a little bit in just to make sure that it's like really gonna do its thing for us, you know? And yeah, so 1/3 at least FPJ material, leftovers, 2/3 water, 1/3 of breathability in the top, you know? So take away the 1/3 and then do your thirds, you know? Minus that top 1/3 and now 1/3 FPJ, 2/3 water. And that's it. And then so what we're gonna do is cover this with a breathable lid, and that's critical as well. If you were to seal it, that's when you could get an alcohol started. A breathable lid will help us quickly bypass the alcohol stage and work through it into a vinegar.
process is great in the flavor.
Mention that again.
If you're making human-grade vinegar, converting it to alcohol first, not bypassing that stage, it tastes a lot better.
Nice. Interesting. That's a good thought. One thing I want to finish this class off with is a visual of a mango tree. So say we're under this mango tree here. It's an avocado. I guess an avocado would work. A visual of an avocado tree. There it is. Okay. This fruit falls on the ground, right? And it starts to rot, right? Way easier with a mango, so we'll stick with that visual. It falls on the ground and it starts to rot, okay? A human, we walk by and we go, what's that rotting mango? What does it smell like to you guys usually? Like what's that first smell that we get off the rotting mango?
Alcohol?
It's vinegary, right?
Vinegary.
Right. It's like vinegary, you know? Rotting bananas, vinegary, right? Okay, so that vinegar sits on the ground and there's like some alcohol in that vinegar or around that vinegar, and this cinnamon leaf blows by and it lands next to it, right? So that starts to tincture that cinnamon leaf or avocado leaf or grass, you know? And that goes in, and all the while it's feeding this root system that it's sitting on top of, and the microbes are carrying and mining these avocado rotting and these mango rot, and they're doing all these processes. So what did we do today? We made vinegar, just like the tree makes vinegar for itself. We made medicine tincture, just like the tree makes medicine tincture for itself. We made FPJ, just like the tree makes FPJ for itself. Right? But we sped up the processes and we put them into vessels to carry them around. And that goes back to my wizard talk, you know? So we harnessed these processes of nature that happen all the time, all over the place, without us doing them. And we just took those same processes into our lab, into our yard, and we did them ourselves, you know? So that's the beauty of it all. You know, that's the culmination of tapping into nature, because we're just using her processes and not trying to make a man-made process. It's just working with nature, but we're doing it. The humans are doing it, but with her direction, guidance, you know, intuition, you know. Any questions about fruit vinegar or anything else? We all good? We're all on the same page? Okay, so Saturday we're going to come back here and we're going to finish everything up, and we're going to hand out nutrients. It should be a quicker class, probably be done by lunchtime, and then we could be out of here a little earlier. So that's it for the class. We'll go over here and make sure that the WCP, if anybody wants to stick around and watch that get finished, we're going to finish some of those bones, just making sure they're charred. But that's the class, and I give thanks everyone for coming. And enough respect and love to everyone. Long live the natural farmer.
Right on, bro.
All right, respects. Appreciate y'all.
I got that, and then some fish bones as well.
Burn the bones, burn.
Nice. Oh, there's some good ones on the bottom.
Yeah.
Those things are turned into charcoal.
Nice. That one's getting right where we like it, right there. See that kind of glassy?
Pretend to be long enough.
Almost glassy. I'll get a little more on the back side of this. So a lot of these are like getting really close to where we want them, but we could char them a little bit more on this brown spot.
Yep.
But it's pretty much there. Right where we want them.
Can you lose everything if you burn it all off, like if you overcook it?
If you overcook it, I mean, a certain amount of white is fine, but you just don't want like a lot of it to be white. See that one right there? You see that shine right there? To me, that's like indicating that you're at the primal. Yeah, right.
It wants to be glassy, right?
Yeah, so that, see that glassy sheen?
Yep.
Is that the marrow coming out or something, maybe? Slightly?
No, that's just to show me that I'm at the spot I like it, and then that's to show me we went a little too far. So this one has like that, yeah, that nice easy break, kind of glassy.
And that's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want it to go like, you know. Oh, it already is 317. I gotta switch modes here.
Art mode.
Art coming up in a minute.
Derek, you're on. Kids are already here. We're here. I think we're on it.